It should be connected to my mic. So let's see if we get the sound working on YouTube. Going live again on YouTube. See if we get this working. Sound check 1 2 1 2. Can y'all hear me now on YouTube? They should be able to hear me. Can y'all hear me now on YouTube? YouTube, can you hear me? Let me know y'all can hear me on YouTube right now. If you can hear me on YouTube, give me a comment. Let me know y'all can hear that. 1 2 1 2 sound check YouTube. Can you hear me? I'm seeing on my end, it does look like it's picking up the sound now. I don't know why it wasn't picking up the sound before, because we got the same sound coming in on Rumble Studio and it is working. We got the same sound coming in on Facebook and it looks like it is working. We got the same sound coming in on, if I can hear it, 1 2 1 2. We got the same sound. Looks like it's coming in on LinkedIn. And we're going to check on X and see if the sound is coming through. What is that? Hey, gentle. Let's see if the sound is coming through on X. Can we hear the sound on X? Is the sound playing on X? Actually, I can't tell. Hold on. TikTok standby. We're just checking on the sound here. It looks like my sound is not working the right way. Can y'all hear me now? All right, so they say they can hear me on YouTube.
It's a whoopee cushion.
A whoopee cushion. Where'd you get that from?
A whoopee cushion.
Don't throw that too much in here. Rumble Studio sound is, no, it changed my sound feed. All right, let's see now. Change it back to the USB in Rumble Studio. Facebook. It's not always a way to check to see if you can hear yourself on here. LinkedIn. Can the sound play on LinkedIn? I have no way of telling. All right, so they're saying they can hear me on YouTube. Now let's see if they can hear me on X. Does the sound good on X? Can anybody on X hear me? I don't have a way of checking this. Stand by, everybody on TikTok. We're just trying to get this sound working properly. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Let me check my Facebook. It's kind of stuff you deal with when you're doing tech. Over on Facebook. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, so y'all just heard that. So Facebook is working. Let's check X one more time. Let's see if we got it working now. X says I am live. Sound check. I'm still not hearing anything through X. Rumble Studio, is the sound playing? I'm not hearing anything. Let me refresh on Rumble Studio. Mic on, camera on. Facebook, is this playing? Facebook we know is working. LinkedIn, we are not sure. I'm trying to catch and find out what's happening on LinkedIn. Are we good on LinkedIn? Somebody on LinkedIn, if anybody is able to comment on LinkedIn, let me know if you can hear my sound. Let's get a pinned comment on LinkedIn. Let me check LinkedIn. Stand by on TikTok. We're still trying to figure out this sound issue over on this side. And on LinkedIn, can people even see them live? All right, let me pull up my own live video on LinkedIn. Somebody on LinkedIn, if anybody is. Okay, so they can hear me on LinkedIn. And now I'm just checking X. X. People see it on live. There we go. All right, so now everything's working. Okay, thank you everybody on YouTube for letting me know y'all couldn't hear me. All right, so we're live on YouTube, and the sound's working now. Live on Rumble Studio, that's working. Live on X, that's working. Live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on Instagram, live on TikTok. Now let's get into the topic here today. Charlie Kirk, conservative influencer, 31 years old, got shot yesterday in Utah. He was speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, during a speaking event for his company, Turning Point USA, which from what I've seen, Turning Point USA is probably the biggest gathering place for conservative interested or conservative leaning people in America over the last, let's say the last 5 years, maybe even more than that. And the attack happened just after noon, their time in Utah. He was answering a question about, literally somebody asked him a question about mass shootings. And as soon as he finished But somebody asked him a question, he answered it. Somebody said, "Do you know how many shootings have happened that were done by trans people?" He said, "Too many." The crowd clapped. And then they said, "How many specifically?" It was another person followed up with another question. And then Charlie said, "Well, do you mean including gang violence or not including gang violence?" And he stopped speaking. He was waiting for the person to answer back. And that's when you saw the bullet hit him. It hit him right in the neck. And you saw the blood start spurting out of his neck. And that's the kind of shot that you're probably not surviving from no matter what the doctors do. And within a couple hours, it was announced that he had indeed passed away. I watched or listened to Megyn Kelly's stream on it, where she started streaming when he had gotten hit, and she announced that he had passed, like right in the middle of the stream when she was talking to Glenn Beck, and a few others came on there. And of course, everybody's been talking about this since yesterday afternoon, and we are talking about it now this morning. And they say the shooter fired from about 200 yards away on a rooftop. And I saw a video, someone showing like a person running on the rooftop right after the shot was fired. The last I heard, they had not yet detained a suspect, at least at the time that I was looking into this. The FBI, ATF, and of course the local authorities are there all looking and trying to find this person. The person's probably going to get found. And this event has, of course, shocked the political world, immediately sparked debate over motives, rhetoric, security for public figures. So let me introduce myself first, and then we'll get into the material. First of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Baldwin. Many know me as DreAllDay, former 9-year pro athlete. And I've written a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. We help people with command of the room through presence, weaponized discipline, and systems. You can learn more about me by going to the links in my profile. Now, Charlie Kirk, what he did best from my perspective. I was not a deep follower of Charlie. I didn't watch like every video that he put out, but if you pay any attention to politics in the United States of America, you couldn't not know who the guy was. He's 31 years old. He's been active in politics for over a decade, and he's been active not as an elected official, but active as I guess what we call an influencer. He's just putting his message out, arguing on behalf of his perspective and how he sees things. Charlie was clearly on the right, clearly a conservative, and we'll get into that. Of course, we're going to get into that here today. But what I think Charlie Kirk did best, as opposed to some of the others that we have out here, whether we're talking the people on the left or the people on the right, what Charlie Kirk did best, his superpower, was his ability to have conversations with people, whether he was debating them or just answering their questions or maybe flipping them from one view to another, was that he could have conversations with people without being antagonistic. So he wouldn't be condescending to people. He wouldn't try to make them look dumb, even if they were trying to make him look dumb. And he could kind of beat you up with a smile on his face, but in a positive way to where people didn't feel, even if he was able to change your mind or beat back some nonsense that you said, he didn't do it in a condescending way. Now, there are many people out there on both the left and the right. When they're doing it, they do it. And, hey, calm down. I'm recording. Don't do that. You can come in here, but you have to be quiet. No, I'm recording. I can't come out of here. He could do this. He could do it in a way where it didn't sound nasty. Whereas you could even take somebody like Candace Owens. Sometimes she could be a little bit condescending. Ben Shapiro, he can be very condescending. You got people on the left, the younger guys. One of them's named Dean something, that guy. You got the other guy, Harry. They can be very condescending. They're all like that, and they all have their ways. Even me sometimes, some people think that I can be a little bit condescending, and sometimes I am on purpose. Charlie Kirk wasn't that type of person. He was the type of person that could do it in a nice way, that he can flip you and make you see the error in your ways and the error in your views, while at the same time you didn't feel dumb. You didn't feel stupid. And that's a superpower. Why? Because especially these days, with the way that people are so emotionally triggered over political subjects, especially since Donald Trump has come into politics, and Charlie Kirk being on the side and supporting Donald Trump, and we're going to get into that in a moment, that he was able to do that in a way that people didn't, well, you would think people didn't hate him, or people weren't so negative towards him and his identity, his presence, his image, because he had that superpower. But then still something like this happens. Now, we don't know who did it yet. We don't know what their motive was yet, and we don't know if we'll ever know what their motive was. But we are going to get into the gumbo, the mix that leads to something like this, because it needs to be discussed. And we're not going to act like it's not something that needs to be discussed, because it does need to be discussed. Speaking of such, politics in the United States of America used to be For those of you who know anything about the history of politics in this country, politics used to be the type of thing where people on one side and people on the other side, they get into their political spheres, whether that be in Congress, whether it be in an actual stage debate, whether they see each other at some venue or at some event, and they would duke it out verbally. They would have their verbal back and forth. You say what you want to say. I say what I want to say. We argue about it. We get vehement about it. We yell at each other. We call each other names. We cuss each other out. They would do that politically. And then when the conversation was over, after the debate was over, they could shake hands and go have dinner together. That's what it used to be. They could shake hands and go have a drink together. They could still be civil towards each other. Yes.
Can you come see my night?
Not yet. You got to wait till I'm finished recording, okay? You got to wait till I'm finished. I'm recording right now. They could be civil towards each other, even though they disagree with each other vehemently on certain subjects, even subjects in which they really had a personal interest in. That's how politics used to be in the United States of America. Over the last, I would say since Obama came in, it started to turn a little bit nasty. And when Trump came in, it turned all the way nasty. It turned all the way nasty after Trump came in. And it got to the point that in these last 10 years, the political conversation has become, okay, I disagree with you. You're wrong. You have the wrong view. You have the wrong way of looking at this. You have come to the wrong conclusion for the wrong reasons, and you built your argument in the wrong way. That part is okay. What it's turned into is, if you have this wrong argument or this wrong view or this wrong position, not only are you just wrong on the logical surface, which is where I tend to keep my arguments here. If you're here, even if you come and disagree with me, I'll point out the illogic in your argument, and we got the soundboard and we can make fun of it. But we're not going beyond that. What's happened over the last 10 years is that people have gone beyond, oh, this guy is going to take away everybody's freedoms. This guy, meaning our current president, he's going to take away everybody's freedoms. He's going to take away everybody's rights. He's going to roll back all the gains. He's a fascist. He's going to destroy the country. He's going to destroy the Constitution. He's going to destroy freedom. He's going to destroy the First Amendment. He's going to silence anybody who goes against him. And anybody who has the gall or the nerve or the ignorance to support or go along with or be on the same page as this guy, you are tacitly complicit in being a part of this. And if you happen to be willing to say it out loud, that's even worse. That's what's happened over the last 10 years. Now, again, this started to go in this direction when Barack Obama came in. It started around Barack Obama, but it wasn't crazy during Barack Obama's term. He had 8 years. It didn't get crazy during Barack Obama's term because it was mostly political people going at political people. During Obama's term, there was politics against politics. You had the Rush Limbaughs, you had the Bill O'Reillys, you had the Tea Party. Remember those people? You had the Tea Party, and it was mostly stayed in the political sphere. The everyday person, really, we knew about it, but was it a big deal? Not really. It wasn't something that you were afraid to say out loud, I support Obama, or I'm not a fan of Obama. You weren't afraid to say it out loud in 2012. In 2017, 2021, 2025, saying that you're well, maybe not so much these days. It's become a little bit different these days. The ground is moving beneath our feet. But it's become this point that if you are a supporter of Trump or you won't condemn Trump out loud, it's been normalized that means there's something fundamentally wrong with you as a person, not something wrong with your argument. So that's two different things. Your argument can be crazy, but you as a person can still be normal. That happens all the time. All right, this is why we have the ad hominem. Ad hominem is when you attack the person rather than attacking the point. And that's what's happened over the last 10 years. It's been a worldwide ad hominem when it comes to Donald Trump. That if you are Donald Trump, or you are next to Donald Trump, or you stand with Donald Trump, you're in the cabinet of Donald Trump, you support Donald Trump, you're in the same party as Donald Trump, or you have something to say about Trump or related to Trump and is not absolutely negative and condemning his very existence, his image, and the idea of him, then that means that something is fundamentally wrong with you as a person. And because the support of Trump means you're going to remove all gains for minorities, women, and gay people, LGBTQ people, and anybody who's about any level of progressivism, and anything that has to do with freedom of speech and freedom of thought and freedom of living and anything that people on the political left are about. If you are a supporter of Donald Trump or you won't condemn Donald Trump, that means you are against it. And if you're not with us, you're against us. And if you're against us, that means that we can do anything to get rid of you, up to and including silencing you, imprisoning you, or taking your life. I'm not saying everybody's doing that. I'm not saying everybody's inciting that. But we can see over the last 10 years that this has become more of a normalized way of speaking, not necessarily a normalized way of doing. This is true. And we know it's true because we saw what happened in 2024 with Donald Trump himself. And speaking of such, we have to give credit to a man whose name I cannot say on this app. Y'all can put his name in the comments. He is a guy who lives, last I checked, he lived in Romania. He has a bald head and he used to be a kickboxer. That guy. There are 3 things that he said. Back when he got canceled about 3 or 4 years ago, he said the following. He said, if you start saying things that people in power don't like, there are 3 levels to what they do to you. Number 1 is they try to silence you. They basically try to get you canceled and silenced and don't let you say anything so nobody hears your message. Number 2 is that they'll try to put you in jail, incarcerate you so that you don't have any freedom. And if those 2 don't work, then number 3, they try to take your life. You saw what they did to Donald Trump. You saw what they had actively been doing to him. He's not as hot right now as he was then. And you saw what just happened to Charlie Kirk. Now, are these extreme examples? I guess you could say so for now. For now, you could say they're extreme examples. But he said these 3 things in like 2022. Here we are, late 2025, and look where we're at. He said they silence you first. They try to put you in jail second. They take your life third. If the first 2 don't work, then number 3 is the last option. And that's how it goes. Look what they did to Donald Trump. Got kicked off all social media in January 6, 2021. They try to put him in jail in 2024. And when it looked like they weren't going to get him in jail, then you saw what happened in Butler, PA in the summer of 2024. 1, 2, 3. Charlie Kirk, I don't think they tried to silence him. They didn't try to put him in jail. It just went straight to point number 3. And again, I'm not saying any particular group was responsible for this, because we don't know who did this. I'm helping you understand metaphorically, directionally, what that guy whose name I can't say, what he said 3.5 years ago, and look what's happening right now. And what he was referring to was an individual person, but we can take that same idea and we can apply it right now. I think it's very fair to apply it to the political right in the United States of America. That's what's happening. And we can't say that it's not happening, because the leader of the political right in the United States of America, we all know who that is. That's the current president, Donald Trump. Y'all saw what happened with him. Charlie Kirk, for those of you who don't know, those of you not familiar, Charlie Kirk is probably, outside of elected officials, Charlie Kirk, y'all tell me if you agree, yes or no. He was probably the most responsible person who was not a politician for helping Donald Trump get elected in 2024. Give me a yes or no in the comments if you agree or disagree. And if you disagree, tell me who was the other person. I would say Charlie Kirk was the most responsible person for getting Trump reelected in 2024. He did a lot of work for that election. And why does that matter? The reason that matters is because Charlie Kirk made it clear, I'm standing next to this guy. And someone said, maybe Elon. Okay, Elon's a fair argument. Elon's fair because Elon put the money up. So Elon did it with the money. Charlie Kirk did it with his voice. That's pretty much how it worked. Charlie Kirk did it with what they call it, sweat equity, by talking and by doing events and helping people get registered to vote and going and having these quote unquote debates and flipping people to see things the way you want to see them. He did it with the sweat equity. Elon did it with the financial equity. So, okay, Elon is a fair argument. I say you got Trump up here, and then in the org chart, you got Elon and Charlie Kirk probably right next to each other. And that's what it very much put him on the map. Even if you didn't follow Charlie Kirk, I didn't follow Charlie Kirk, but if you showed me a picture of him and said, who's that? I would know who it was. I say, yeah, that's the guy. That's Charlie Kirk. That's the guy he's a conservative. He argues on behalf of Trump, and he goes out and he does the debates. He does the 1 person versus 20 people. He's done those. He's done all of it. And he has this company called Turning Point USA. I never been to one of their events. But from what I've seen, Turning Point USA is the most influential, again, outside of actual political organizations. Technically, they are a political organization, but outside of political organizations run by politicians, Turning Point USA is the place to be if you are a conservative and you either have a voice, want to have a voice, or you want to be around the people who have a voice. Is that also true? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Those of you who know more about TP USA than I do. I know a good amount about them just because I see them everywhere. Every time I hear conservatives talk, they're somehow, some way, either a part of TP USA, they're speaking at a TP USA event, they met each other at a TP USA event. A couple of weeks ago, there was a bunch of females, conservative females, catfighting with each other, and they were all talking shit about each other about what they do at the TP USA events. So this is the place where it all goes down for conservatives. TP USA, Turning Point is what TP is. That's Charlie Kirk's organization. So he got all these people all under his umbrella, and not necessarily working for him, but he got all these people in his environment, in his space. So he had made himself into a somebody here in politics. By the way, Charlie Kirk did not have a college degree, for what it's worth. From what I heard Donald Trump Jr. say this, that Charlie Kirk was like a little brother to me. And Donald Trump Jr. is probably, what, mid-40s-ish? Charlie Kirk was only 31. And I heard Megyn Kelly say that Charlie Kirk got in the game basically by carrying Donald Trump Jr.'s bags, like literally bag carrying for this guy because he just wanted to get in the game. And I saw Ben Shapiro say that when I first came across Charlie Kirk, he was 18 years old, but I knew that he was one day going to be the head of the Republican National Committee just because I saw the potential within this guy. I'm saying all that to say this is not really a eulogy of Charlie Kirk. I'm saying this to say the guy was very clearly raising his hand and making sure everybody knew I'm here on the right and I'm supporting this guy that a bunch of people, half the people in the country, are so vehemently against. I'm standing next to him. And that takes a ton of courage to stand next to that guy at a time when half the people are against him. See, half the people were against Obama. Against is we don't like the politics. That's against people were against George W. Bush. People are against Bill Clinton. Donald Trump is a different level. Donald Trump is brought on a different level. And Charlie Kirk stood right next to this guy. And those of you who don't remember, earlier this year, we all know Elon Musk. So he came in this second administration with Trump with the Doge thing. And when Doge first went into action, right when the Trump administration started in January. So February, March, April, Elon Musk was actively involved in the government. He's falling back and going back to his businessman thing, which is where he should be. He's not made for the public sector. But when he was doing Doge, he did an interview with Fox News. And he said, this is during the time when, Doge is doing all their stuff. And the political left is throwing all these lawsuits out to try to stop Elon and his team from doing what they're doing. And Elon, during that interview, he said, I fear for my life right now. I feel like my life is in danger right now because of the things that I'm doing with Doge. And what was he doing with Doge? He was threatening the money. And Elon feared for his life because he was not only was he threatening the money, not only was he doing things in government that hadn't been done before, he was also standing next to Donald Trump. That's three things all at the same time. I don't even know what I want to call that. Three things at once that you probably don't want to have happen at the same time unless you can afford really, really good security. And Elon Musk can afford really, really good security. He probably needs better security now after what just happened to Charlie Kirk, because Elon Musk still has money. All right, Charlie Kirk, he has his voice. Well, he had his voice, but there's no election coming up. Elon Musk can still use his money to make things happen. So he probably want to step his security further up. Charlie Kirk was out in open air event in Utah. This is outside. He's having this event in Utah, and sniper hit him from the building. Well, a sniper hit him from the roof. I don't know if there's security for anybody to just walk around out in the open air on this campus. I don't know what their security measures were, but I'm sure any college events happening moving forward with any well-known influencer person, first of all, the events have to have the security stepped up. And secondly, the influencer themselves got to step their stuff up. I was listening to Megyn Kelly yesterday. She said, I was about to do an event with Charlie in 2 weeks. Now, how much security is she going to have at that event? Probably double what she was planning on having after that. I'm saying all that to say that the last 10 years, re-emphasizing my point, the last 10 years of politics in the United States of America, whether we're talking the ladies on The View, whether we are talking just influencers on social media, X, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, TikTok, etc., they have turned the temperature up on this conversation to past, let's argue ideas, let's argue information, let's argue points, let's slam dunk on each other in the comments. That's all fair game, sticks and stones. But when the conversation turns to you are hurting people, your position and your very existence is threatening people's lives, you are threatening the very fabric of what this country is about. When you keep saying that over and over and over and over again, eventually, well, first of all, let's start here. The logical, rational person, which I think most of us are, a logical, rational person can listen to that and say, yeah, these people are kind of talking crazy. And maybe you participate in the crazy talk. But at the same time, you know how far to take it between talking and actually doing things. Most of us are logical and rational enough. We can sit here and talk shit all day, disagree all day, but we're just talking. When the live is over, the live's over. When the comment's over, the comment's over. We go back to our regular lives, our families, our kids, our jobs, and we live our lives as normal people. We've seen each other in person. We can argue in person. or we can shake hands, or we can do both. That's generally how it is. But we all understand there's still that 1% of person who actually takes this stuff seriously, and they feel like, oh, we got to actually go. If what is being said is true, I might actually have to do something to stop this situation. There's that 1% crazy, and it's less than 1% actually. Is that less than 1% crazy who hears this and says, oh, wait a minute, this guy's threatening my life. He's going to roll back the gains for all these minority groups. He's actually going to destroy the fabric of the country. He's going to destroy free speech. He's going to destroy all these amendments in the Constitution. He's doing all these terrible things. And all these people are standing next to him. Okay, we might have to do something to these people. We might have to get rid of these people because it sounds like what they're doing is really, really bad. And then that less than 1% crazy goes and does something crazy or attempts to do something crazy, like Donald Trump last year, like the Charlie Kirk situation, and like many others that we don't even hear about that don't even come on the news. Now, let me be clear here, because I am not saying that they are directly responsible, because that wouldn't be true. I'm not saying that some influencer on the internet or the ladies on The View are responsible for somebody deciding to pick up a weapon and go attempt to take the life of Donald Trump or take the life of Charlie Kirk. That wouldn't be true. That would not be fair. However, here's what I will say. If it's okay for them on that side to say this guy making these comments, let's say Donald Trump making these comments, or anybody who's affiliated with Trump making those comments and co-signing Donald Trump, just the very idea of co-signing Donald Trump, or the very idea of voting for Donald Trump, or the very idea of voting for anyone other than Donald Trump's opponent. Let me know if I got this frame right, because I've heard this many times from people on the left. People, the hard enemies of Donald Trump, not enemies, but detractors, let's say, of Donald Trump. They're saying if you didn't vote for, let's say, Kamala or Hillary or Joe Biden, if you didn't vote for one of those three, even if you didn't vote for Trump, if you just didn't vote at all, you're voting for Trump, right? Isn't that the whole thing? If you didn't vote, you're voting for Trump. If you voted for Trump, you voted for Trump. And if you voted for the third party candidate, Jill Stein, then you voted for Trump. And if you are not actively engaged in going against this guy, then that means you're with this guy. You are co-signing this guy. And if you're co-signing this guy, that means you're co-signing. And then they got the long list. You got the gish gallop of all the terrible things that Donald Trump represents. That means it's going to hurt everybody other than rich, heterosexual, white men. Do I have that frame right? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Have we heard this for the last 10 years? Is that the frame we've heard? I'm speaking high level here, but is that generally the frame we've gotten? If you don't actively oppose Donald Trump in every way possible, you are co-signing the destruction of life and the destruction of opportunity for everyone other than rich, heterosexual, white males. That's it. If you're not part of that group, you don't fit all four of these, and you're not trashing Donald Trump, what the hell are you doing? Are you going against your own group? You're voting against your own personal interests. You're a sellout. You're a fill in the blank, whatever names pejorative people want to throw at you, because you will not oppose Donald Trump. Now, Charlie Kirk, I don't know if he was rich, but it appears he's heterosexual, and he was white, and he was a male. So Charlie Kirk was he was right in line with the Donald Trump thing in terms of how he looked. And then he stood up and said, yes, I am. Elon Musk, yes, I am. And everybody else who's connected to Trump, yes, I am. And when you keep saying that over and over and over and over and over again for 10 years, and eventually somebody takes action on it, do you not get looked at? Again, I'm not saying they're responsible, because I'm an absolutist when it comes to you are responsible for your own actions. I just told you that yesterday. Everybody who takes an action is responsible for their own behavior. Whatever you do, you did. Somebody else told you to do it. You didn't have to do it. You still did it. So I am not saying that they're responsible. But what I am saying is, have they helped stir the pot? Have they helped get the water to a boil? The answer is absolutely yes, they have. Now, again, as I just said a few minutes ago, sticks and stones break my bones, words will never hurt me. Somebody could talk all day. Doesn't mean you got to do anything. The reason I'm bringing this up is because if we flip the shoe and put it on the other foot, if this happened to Barack Obama, if this happened to who's a well-known leftist influencer, if this happened to Whoopi Goldberg, who's somebody else on the left that's like really prominent in terms of going out and just supporting, who's the Charlie Kirk of the left? Who is that person? Give me a name. If this happened to Roland Martin, I don't know if he'd be the person. Who's AOC? Van Jones. Yeah, Van Jones is a good one. Somebody who's not a politician. Give me someone who's not a politician. So Hassan, I don't know who Hassan is. Dean, I think it's Dean Withers. If this happened to Don Lemon, yes. If this happened to one of these folks, if this happened to Van Jones is a good example. If this happened to Abby Phillips on CNN. If this happened to Rachel Maddow. If this happened to one of those people, and this was done, and it looked like it was done by somebody on the right, or there have been all this rhetoric about how terrible these people are. Not that I disagree with the person. Soul Art says Sean King. Where is Sean King? I ain't heard from Sean King in a long time. Is he black? Is he still black? Anyway, but if this has happened to one of these people on the left, after months, not only months, but years of rhetoric of how terrible this person or this side is, not just because they have bad points, but because they are a bad person who happens to make points, and then something bad happens to them. Answer me this question. What would people on the left be saying this morning right now? What would they be saying? Somebody tell me. What would they be saying? Louis said, get to your point. This is the point. This is the fucking point. All of this is the point. What would they be saying right now? They would be saying the people on the right have stirred up these crazy people to go do something crazy to the person on the left. That's what they would be saying. They would be putting the blame on the rhetoric of the right as to what happened to the person on the left. That's what they would be saying. They've used this plenty of times. And yeah, some people say it's the guns. Well, guns don't shoot themselves. I'm not blaming it on the guns. We'll get to the guns. I'm sure somebody's brought that up in the comments. We'll get to that. The left would use this very easily, very conveniently, and very consistently to say the right stirred this up. So what happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday? I mean, first of all, this man is a husband, 31 years old. I'm assuming his wife is somewhere around his age bracket. They had 2 kids who look like they're not even school age yet. And now she's a widower at, who knows, 30, with 2 kids under the age of 5. And her husband was out there doing a honest day's work, supporting a politician who literally just won the last election with more than half of the country voting for him. And now he lost his life. And again, we don't know why the shooter did what the shooter did. But did the left have something to do with riling up what ended up being this mess that we have going on right now? I would have to say yes. I would have to say yes. Because of the way that they talked about anything Trump/MAGA over the last 10 years. Now, let's talk about that. Because from 2015 to about 2023, there are a lot of people who are on the political right. And by the way, I have no political affiliation. I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right. And there were a lot of people who had a leaning, but didn't want to say that they had the leaning. Why? Because it could hurt your career. It could hurt your job status. You could lose family members. Well, you lose connection to family members. You could lose friends simply because you announced that, hey, I support Trump, or, hey, I'm not against Trump. You didn't have to support him. You could just say, I'm not going to trash him. I'm not going to bash him. I think actually a couple of ideas he had are good ideas. Actually, I think he's a better candidate than this person. In 2024, going into now, over the last year and a half, the tide has turned and more people are more open to saying, you know what, I'm a supporter of Trump because look at this shit. If you ask me, 2024, you had Donald Trump, you had Kamala Harris. Who was the better candidate? There's no way in a logical mind you could say Kamala Harris is a better candidate than Donald Trump. There's no logical way that you could argue that. I don't think there's a logical way you could argue Joe Biden after we saw the debate. Now, Joe Biden, he was losing it up here. We all saw it on national TV. There's no argument there. And he got replaced by Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris, she was asked directly, okay, you were working for Joe Biden, or you are. She was the VP still at that point. If you were to win, what's going to be different about your presidency, your administration from the current administration? Because people are not happy with the current administration. So what are you going to do different? She's going to answer the question. She didn't have an answer to the question. So if she's going to be a continuation of the administration that people are already not happy with, how could you possibly vote for it? Logically, it doesn't make any sense. Keyword, logically, it doesn't make any sense. Of course, a bunch of people are going to vote for her and did vote for her because they just are against Donald Trump. But on a logical level, there's no rational argument to say Kamala Harris is a better candidate than Donald Trump. There is none. Zero. And she went and wrote a book, 107 Days. I saw, who was this that posted that? I think it was Clay Travis. He posted there was an excerpt from the book that Kamala Harris was saying that it was reckless and it was a bad idea to let Joe Biden run for president in 2024. Now, looking back on it. Yes, of course, Kamala, we know. Now, of course, it was a bad idea. Right. Anyway, I'm saying that to say this, that a lot of people were afraid to say anything positive, neutral, let alone positive about Donald Trump for the last 8 out of the last 10 years. Now, the last year and a half, now people are starting to come out the closet, so to speak, and say positive things about Donald Trump. But for a long time, that was not a smart thing to do for personal and professional reasons. Now, we're in this position after the lawfare last year, which some people noticed, but not everybody quite understood because the legal system can be very tricky. After the bullet shot past his ear in Butler, Pennsylvania, it became a little bit more visceral. Then he won the election. Then the tide started to turn a little bit more. Then Elon Musk came in, and then it just got bigger and bigger. And now this right here, I think this is going to bring more people out of the woodwork. I think this is going to cause more silent majority members to become vocal majority members. There's a silent majority in support of Trump. Now there's about to be a vocal majority because this is as close as you can get to the president. This guy right here. I mean, other than his family. His family has Secret Service. Trump has Secret Service. Charlie Kirk didn't have the Secret Service. And you saw what happened to him. Elon Musk has $300 billion. So he can afford security. Charlie Kirk had security, but he didn't have that kind of security. And you see what happened to him. Politics didn't used to be like this. And the last 10 years of rhetoric from the political left played a role in this. And what I saw people saying on X, they're saying, well, when that thing happened to where was those people in? Were they in Montana or Minnesota? It was something that happened to some people in let me see if I can find it. It was a couple Democratic politicians they were attacked and I believe lost their lives in, let me see if I can find where it was. It was, yes, this here. So it was, no, it's not this. The Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota who got assassinated just a couple months ago. They say Trump basically ignored it and didn't say anything about it. And they're trying to both sides this. This is the tu quoque fallacy, which is basically saying, well, you're saying this, but you did this. All right, this is nonsense. The reason why it's nonsense is because, first of all, people die every day. So the president can't point out every single one. And Charlie Kirk was very close to the president in terms of, as we just all established and agreed, he was probably, outside of Elon Musk, the most responsible person outside of Trump himself to get Trump elected. He was more prominent. He was more known than those Democratic lawmakers. I'm not saying that their lives don't matter. All lives matter. All lives matter. But he was more prominent, and more prominent name gets more attention. That's just what it is. So for people to say, there are a bunch of people who are allegedly on the left, and who knows, these might even be bots, these accounts saying this, but somebody's putting words in their mouths that, oh, well, Trump didn't say anything about the people in Minnesota, so people don't have to say anything about Charlie Kirk. All right, that's nonsense, first of all, number one. And number two is somebody just lost their life, and a wife just lost her husband, and 2 kids just lost their father, and people still can't turn off the TDS. That's the problem that I have with it. And this is why I brought up what I said about politics. It used to be politicians could argue, scream and yell at each other and be at each other's throats over the politics. And when the meeting was over, you could see them in a restaurant having dinner together. Same 2 guys. It used to be like that. That's how it used to be. Nowadays, we can't do that. Nowadays, they can't even be on the same stage. They can't even be on the same TV show. They can't even talk to each other because we have differences of opinion when it comes to politics. You got Whoopi Goldberg, who was on The View when Whoopi Goldberg walked off the set. Who was that was on The View? Y'all remember that? When The View they had somebody as a guest, because they'll have conservatives on their show. Who was the person that was on the show? I believe it was a woman. She was on the show, and Whoopi Goldberg walked off the set in the middle of the taping because Whoopi Goldberg just couldn't be around that person. Who was that was on the show? Anybody remember that? Who was that person? It was, so I'm seeing everybody's giving me different names. I see Judge Perino, Shapiro, Carolyn, Judge Jeannie. Everybody's spelling the name different. It was Jannie or Jeannie, whatever her name was. It was several years ago. It was a few years ago. Okay, so people are saying Janine. Okay, it's probably her. And see, we didn't used to do that. There used to be this guy who had a show. I don't know if he's still alive. His name was Geraldo Rivera. He's still alive? Was it Geraldo? Is that his first name? Geraldo Rivera. He would have all kinds of people on his show. Even Oprah back in the day used to have all kinds of people on her show. Oprah used to have white supremacists on her show. in an audience of people who couldn't believe what the white supremacist was saying, but she would have him on the show. She would ask him questions. He would answer the questions in his white supremacist way, and they would just have a conversation for an hour and a half. And the audience would sit there and listen to it, and then people would get up on the mic and ask him a question, and then there'd be a back and forth, and there'd be a whole conversation. Thank you for coming on the show. Let's talk about this. Geraldo would do the same thing. He would have people on there who he disagreed with, and they would duke it out right there on the show. The audience members would stand up and ask questions. There would be an open dialogue, and then the show would be over, and everybody would go about their ways. But there was a dialogue. There was a conversation. We could be in the same room, in the same space, vehemently disagree, then everybody could walk away and go home. That's how it used to be. And Geraldo's still alive. They say he's on News Nation. Okay, so he's still active. He's still out there publishing. Shout out to Geraldo. All right, that's how it used to be. Oprah used to do this. Geraldo used to do it. I mean, you had someone like Jerry Springer. That was different. Jerry Springer wasn't the same thing. But this was when, back in the days, you could have open debate and open discussion and open disagreement, and everybody could still be civil about it. And it wasn't getting the everyday person thinking, I need to go do something and engage in this situation. I listened to it on TV. I heard it. I have my opinion. You have your opinion. My neighbor has their opinion. But then everybody goes about their regular life after we get done having our opinions. It wasn't, you need to take this into your own hands and do something about it. That's what's changed. Over the last 15 years, now all of a sudden, everyday citizens and civilians have been told, doesn't mean everybody's actually done it, but it's been intimated to us, whether you're on the left or the right or you're neutral, wherever you are, that it's not okay to just listen and think about it and have an opinion. Now you need to actually go do something. Now you got to go actually get involved. Now there are different ways of getting involved. There are different levels of involvement. One level of involvement is just register to vote and vote. Now that's the basic way you get your voice heard is you vote. You want to influence the vote? Okay, then you become a Charlie Kirk, you become a Ben Shapiro, you become a Dean, you become a Don Lemon, you become a AOC, you become a whatever, you get involved in politics, or you go talk about it. You become an influencer, say what you want to say, get people to hear your opinion. All right, that's the way you're supposed to do it. You use your voice, use your words, and you get people to see things the way you see them. If they disagree, they disagree, but everybody has a conversation, everybody lives to talk about it. Now you have people who, now we have to go actively be against this person. Now we go protest. Protesting is okay. You can protest, but it shouldn't be Riley Gaines gets trapped inside of a room on a college campus by a bunch of trans activists because she's saying that a man with a penis should not be able to swim on the women's swim team. That's fucking ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening. How is that happening? How is that happening? How do you have activists who are angry that a female says a man can't be on the women's swim team in a women's swim competition? And she is trapped inside the room because there's so many of them that there's not enough people to beat them back. And I'm sure whatever campus she was on when that happens, that wasn't some all women's school or all men's school. Even if it was an all men's school, there are not enough men on that campus to come there and say, wait, there's a woman trapped in there because a bunch of people with blue hair and rainbow flags said a man can't be on a women's swim team. They got her trapped in a room and there weren't enough men on the campus to go say, y'all get the hell out the way so she can leave. Are you kidding me? That's just a reflection of what craziness is happening in the country right now. And there are people on the political left. I'm not saying politicians. I'm saying people, just civilians who lean left politically who think that's okay. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And I've said this many times, and I didn't make this one up. There's a scientific law called the law of entropy. The law of entropy states that things are always moving into a state of increased chaos and disorder. And the only way you stave off chaos and disorder, actually, let me back up. This increased chaos and disorder is a natural state, meaning every single one of us and every entity any of you is a part of, your neighborhood, your family, your community, your job, your career, and you as a person is always moving into a state of increased chaos and disorder at all times. The only reason you're not in a complete state of chaos and disorder right now, every single one of you, every single one of us, is because of standards, rules, and parameters. What they do is they keep the chaos on the outside. Standards, rules, and parameters keep the chaos on the outside. But when you start lowering standards, you start not enforcing rules, and you start ignoring parameters, then the chaos starts to come in, and now you have chaos everywhere. The reason that something like the Riley Gaines situation, and she would be not at the level of Charlie Kirk, but she's probably 4 or 5 levels below in terms of on that side, on the political right. That kind of stuff shouldn't be happening for several reasons. Number one, now that's a female. And if a female says a man shouldn't be on a women's swim team, how the hell is there any man who stands there and doesn't say that's correct? oh, you know what? We're going to let the man be on his women's swim team. University of Pennsylvania. And if you know anybody at the University of Pennsylvania, how the hell did they let that happen? That's an Ivy League school. That's allegedly the smart people, right? Isn't that the Ivy League supposed to be the smartest kids in the country? Somebody tell. I didn't go to Ivy League school. I got a college degree, but I didn't go to Ivy League. Ivy League is supposed to be the smartest people in the country, right? Isn't that what the Ivy League is? The Ivy League schools, and then you got the Stanford, you got MIT, and that's basically all the best students, all the smartest people in the country go to the Ivy League schools, right? So at an Ivy League school, they got a man on a women's swim team, and there's not a single man on that campus who could figure that out and say something. This man makes it all the way to the national championships. That's when Riley Gaines faced this guy because they didn't go to the same school. I think she went to, where'd she go? Kentucky. So she was at Kentucky, not an Ivy League school. He's at an Ivy League school. So obviously this guy's smart, right? His teammates are smart. And there got to be a whole bunch of smart men working there. He ends up on the women's swim team all year after being on the men's swim team for 3 years, gets on the women's swim team, gets to the national championships. There wasn't a single man who said, wait a minute, we're not doing this. Not one. Not one. I'm bringing this up to say, because the topic here today is Charlie Kirk. I'm bringing this up to say that when you stop enforcing rules, you ignore parameters, and you no longer uphold standards, you get chaos. A man being on a women's swim team is chaos. And the reason that we have chaos politically in the United States of America is because standards, rules, and parameters are no longer being upheld. The standard used to be we argue, we shake hands, we go to dinner because the argument is professional. Us going to dinner is personal. And politics has turned personal. And that's what happened since Trump came in. It got a little bit personal with Obama, but it was still politics. It was politically personal. Now it's everyday personal. Since Trump came in, it's become everyday personal. And there's a bunch of people who do not like Donald Trump. And here's where I want to call out the MAGA supporters. All right, you're MAGA, listen up. This is my call to action to you. Or just call to attention. Let me call it that. I'm not even call it a call to action. Let me call it call to attention. Let me paint the picture. The Obama situation was political personal. People started to get personal, but it was still politics. People didn't like Obama, but it was still politics. I remember Obama was speaking. I don't remember what kind of speech he was giving, but then the guy called him a liar. He called him out as a liar in the middle of his speech. And then everybody was calling that guy out. You shouldn't do that. See, that's political personal. He didn't like Obama. He's calling Obama a liar, and all politicians lie. Obama lied just as much as Donald Trump lies. And he was calling him out. Fine. All right, that's all part of the game. I mean, you're not supposed to do that, but that's all part of the game, but it was political. Since Trump came on, it's become personal. It's not political personal. It's personal. And the people on the political left, MAGA, I'm talking to you right now. Trump supporters, I'm talking to you right now. People on the political right, I'm talking to you. The people on the political left have gotten really, really, really bold in talking shit about Trump, MAGA, and all of his supporters. Even Mr. or former President Biden. Y'all remember that one? When he was saying, remember they had the, Donald Trump had the rally in New York. And the comedian, I don't remember the guy's name. Who was that comedian who came up and says a pile of trash floating in the Atlantic Ocean? I'm sorry, it's just Puerto Rico. Who was that guy that said that? That guy said that. And then somebody asked Joe Biden what he thought about that joke. And Joe Biden said, the only pile of trash I see, paraphrasing, is his supporters. So he was talking about Donald Trump. And basically he was referring to MAGA. See, they've gotten that bold over the last 10 years. And Hinchcliffe, yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe. Yes, that was his name. Thank you. And MAGA and MAGA supporters, y'all been pretty quiet. Y'all been taking this. And over the last 10 years, MAGA's been taking this. I see a whole lot, because I follow on social media. Only social media I actively use is X. So on X, I'm following people on the left. I'm following people on the right. I follow people who I generally agree with. I follow people who I generally do not agree with. I don't agree with damn near anything that they say, but I follow them anyway because I just want to see what they're saying. A bunch of them on the left and the right. And the people on the left they become very bold and very comfortable in their boldness and trashing anything and anyone who is even related in any way to MAGA and Donald Trump and the political right over the last 10 years. And they become more and more and more bold as the years go on. And I thought, incorrectly, that after Trump won in 2024, last November, I thought that they would probably calm down. All right, he won his second election. He can't run again. He has no more elections coming up. I guess people will calm down, and now we can have some rational dialogue about politics and what Trump's doing, et cetera, et cetera. I thought that was what was going to happen. I was very wrong about that. They just become more bold. Now, they just become more bold in trashing him, and trashing Trump, and trashing MAGA. And my call to attention to you all, MAGA, is that it might be, just my suggestion, it might be time to start punching back. It might be time to start playing the game on their level. Because, as I already said, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I'm not saying you need to do what, I'm not talking Charlie Kirk level. What I'm saying is the rhetoric. I'm saying it might be time that you start showing them what it looks like, letting them know how it feels. Because that's what they've been doing for the last 10 years. And look how excited they've gotten all their supporters, whatever you want to call it. This is what they've done. I'm not saying physically do something. I'm talking verbally. I'm not saying physically, I'm saying verbally. Just to be clear. That's why I said it's a call to attention, not a call to action. Because talking is not really action as far as I'm concerned. Call to attention. Why? Because again, look at the people on the left and the people on the right in the United States of America. Those of you who are neutral, y'all can point out this. And those of you who aren't, if you're objective, you can point it out. I can point it out. Is that if I get a group of people who are on the left right now in America, like they are openly on the left, like I am on the left, meaning they don't like Donald Trump. If I got 100 of them in the room, and I got 100 people in the room who said I'm on the right, like they openly say I'm on the right, and those two groups were together, I would bet, just on average, if I just picked 100 people randomly, that people on the left are much stronger in their conviction, outward conviction. Let me be clear, not just their personal thoughts, but their outward conviction for being against Trump. They sound louder and they make more noise than the people who are outwardly for Trump. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, that doesn't mean there are more of them. We know that because we saw what happened November 2024. We know there are more people on the right, or at least people who are willing to support Donald Trump as a presidential candidate. Let me just put it that way. It doesn't mean they're on the right, because you could be neutral and vote for Trump. But the rhetoric has gotten so loud and so strong against Trump and anything associated with Trump that something like this is just a black swan event. Hopefully doesn't happen every day, and hopefully doesn't happen again. But does the rhetoric have something to do with it? Do I believe it stirred the pot and it put ingredients into the gumbo that became what happened to Charlie Kirk yesterday? Yes, I do. I do believe it has something to do with it. Why? Because they've been stirring this up for 10 years. And when they're not getting any pushback, for the most part, not getting any pushback, they just get more bold. That's what happens. People just get more bold. And I thought it would burn out. I thought it was over. November 6th, the day after the election, I did a live stream right here on all these apps. It was called Trump Part 2, whatever I called it. President Trump Part 2, something like that. And I said, okay, maybe everybody will calm down now. That's what I thought. I was very wrong. People have not calmed down. It's gotten crazier. And people on the left are more strongly going at Trump. I believe that's a stupid strategic move because they have no identity right now. The only identity of the left is to trash Trump and anybody associated with Trump. That's the identity of the left. Now, in the long term, is this a good strategic move? No. But in the short term, is this a good emotional move? Yes, because, again, look what they've done. Look what they've done. All right, me talking about it right now, got a bunch of people paying attention and talking about it because they have gotten everybody all riled up and hyped. Anything that Donald Trump does, says, stands for, allegedly, or allegedly thinks, all they have to do is put his name in it and trash it, and a bunch of people get excited about it. Is this true? That's what it is. Who is that? Who is the parallel figure on the political left that you could do that with? Nobody. Who's the current, right now, alleged front runner for the Democratic Party? Who's the number one voice in the Democratic Party right now? I guess we would have to say, well, who do y'all think? Who's the number one person in the Democratic Party right now? They had to pick a leader right now. Who is it? Give me a name. Who's the number one name in the Democratic Party right now? If you had to pick one person, who is it? And somebody said Obama. I don't think Obama. I think Obama's washed. I mean, he's who he is. I mean, his resume is his resume, but I think he's washed. I'm seeing Newsom a lot. I'm seeing a lot of Newsoms. I think I'm going to have to go with Newsom. I think we would go Newsom. Someone said Bernie. Bernie's like 80-something years old. And Bernie's been saying the same thing for 30 years, and he hasn't achieved it yet. So even though it sounds good, I would not say Bernie. I'd say Gavin Newsom. Because Gavin Newsom looks like the future. Bernie is the past. He's been saying the same message, fight the oligarchy, since 1993. And he's been losing that fight for 30 years. So I can't go Bernie. He's entertaining, but no. I had to say Newsom. It had to be Gavin Newsom. Now, here's the issue Gavin Newsom has. Gavin Newsom built up this momentum, let's say, over the last month. Doing what? What's Gavin Newsom been doing for the last month that got him all this momentum? What did he do? Give me an answer in the comments. What has Gavin Newsom done over the last 4 weeks that got him all this momentum? He's been around for a long time. I mean, he's been the governor for a while, right? Why all of a sudden is he popular? What has he been doing for the last 4 weeks? For the last 4 weeks, all he's been doing is talking about Donald Trump. That's all he's been doing. All Gavin Newsom did to get popular over the last 4 weeks is talk about Donald Trump. And he's trying to use Donald Trump's strategy against Donald Trump. The problem is Gavin Newsom is a tried and true polished politician. The problem with being a politician is we don't trust politicians. Even if you say you trust politicians, you don't really trust politicians. The reason Trump is Trump is he ain't no politician. He's a civilian turned politician. Gavin Newsom is a politician trying to play civilian. There's a difference. Somebody said Jasmine Crockett. I don't think so. I think she's going to lose her next election, and that's pretty much it. I think Jasmine Crockett is going the way of Cori Bush. And who's the guy from New York who got voted out? What was that guy's name in New York? Bowman? Yeah, she's going the way of them. She maybe burn a little bit hotter right now because she may be probably more popular than both of them. But now I think she's going the way of those two. Ibram X. Kendi, I don't think so. He's done. Ibram X. Kendi been done. Gavin Newsom's is the number one guy. He's the number one guy for the Democrats right now. They had to pick one person to be him. If there was a vote, he would win, right? For the Democrats, he would win. The problem is his whole frame is whatever Trump does, I'm just going to push back against that. That's a problem because what happens when Trump disappears? Now you're pushing against a wall that's not even there. He's fighting ghosts. The Democratic Party is fighting ghosts right now. They're fighting the ghost of Donald Trump. That's a problem for them long term. But right now it works. Again, I was wrong. I thought they would stop this. They haven't stopped. They kept going. Maybe it'll stop after the 2026 midterms. I doubt it. But this is where we're at. So let me get a few more points off here, and then we'll open the floor up to discussion. This attack, as I said, it looked like it was premeditated. I mean, the sniper from the roof, that's premeditated. I mean, you don't just randomly decide to climb up to the roof. This guy was on an elevated rooftop. This was not some chaotic crowd incident. They probably had security for the crowd members, like the people sitting on the lawn or standing on in the crowd in front of him. Because I know Charlie Kirk does the events. He's under the tent right here with the mic. And then there's a big crowd of people, and people come up to the mic and ask him, y'all seen Charlie Kirk's events? They probably have security for those people. I don't think it's security for somebody on the roof 200 yards away. So this was clearly planned. Again, we don't know who, we don't know why, and we may never know why. Because the person, even if they're caught, they have a right to remain silent. And they have a right to an attorney, et cetera, et cetera. So without this identified suspect, everything is speculative right now as to why they did it. I'm not even saying why this person did it because, again, every individual is responsible for their own actions. I don't care what anybody said. You're responsible for what you personally do. So until we hear from this person, if we ever hear from this person, we won't know. Listen, this person might get offed while the cops are trying to apprehend them. We don't know. This person might off themselves. Maybe they'll never catch them. We don't know. So we can't speak to that. What I'm speaking to is the temperature of the room is the responsibility of the people on the political left because of their emotional engagement over Donald Trump. That is my argument. Not that they're the reason the person did it. Is that they turned up the temperature. It's like if somebody takes off all their clothes and they're sitting in their underwear. They're responsible for taking their clothes off, but you're responsible for making the room so damn hot that they weren't comfortable in their suit. I said I'd take all their clothes off because it was too hot to stay in the suit. Everybody understand the metaphor that I'm giving here. That's what I'm putting on the political left. So federal agencies responded immediately. Trump put flags at half staff, and people found a way to attack that. They found a way to criticize that. Trump put the flags at half staff. All right, why didn't he do that for the people in Minnesota? Why didn't he do that for this person or that person? Like, really? Can you just turn it off for a day? That's the reason why I call this TDS. See, when I call it TDS, I'm not doing it. I am being sometimes hyperbolic, sometimes being funny, but it's real TDS. These people have Trump derangement syndrome. Is that anything this man says or does, they find a way to criticize it. And they can't turn it off for 1 second and just say, okay, let me chill on the TDS. Let me chill on taking everything this man says and find a way to vilify it. And let's just talk humanly. Let's just talk in a humane way for just an hour or two because somebody just lost their life. Somebody who's 31 years old with 2 young kids under the age of 5 and a wife now left behind. Let me just talk normally for a day. Even though this guy was a Trump supporter, even though this guy helped Trump get elected, and I hate Trump, let me just talk normal for an hour or two. They can't even do that. And I'm not talking about the politicians. Most of the politicians came out and they spoke normally. Joe Biden said something, sounded normal. Barack Obama made a statement, sounded normal. And there were many others who said things that sounded pretty normal. Even the kid, Dean, he said something and it sounded pretty normal. All right, they all sounded like humans, not like these political animals. They sounded normal. But then the DNC paid influencers, not all of them are paid influencers, but the Democratic influencers, many of them can't turn it off. And there's a reason why they can't turn it off. Is because they have been so indoctrinated and so conditioned to do this that they can't turn it off. All right, this is what they are. This is who they are now. And I saw this, and Soul Art, I see what you said there, that somebody had posted this. Let's look at a couple of these. So when the Charlie Kirk thing happened yesterday, Lives of TikTok posted this. That this woman who was she was at Middle Tennessee State University. Did y'all see this? This woman from Middle Tennessee State University. She was the assistant dean of students, this woman. Let me see if I can find this post. Assistant dean of students at Middle Tennessee State University. Here it is, 8 hours ago. So this is 1 o'clock in the morning. Lives of TikTok out here working hard. So this got posted at 12:21 a.m. today. The assistant dean at MTSU, her name is, what is this woman's name? Laura Sash Lightsey. Did y'all see this? This woman right here. This is her LinkedIn profile. Laura Sash Lightsey. She posted this on, looks like she posted it on Facebook. Said, looks like Charlie spoke his fate into existence. Hate begets hate, zero sympathy. This is the assistant dean of students at a college. Liz of TikTok goes and makes news of this. Liz of TikTok is doing important work here, calling out the nonsense that these people are doing. MTSU came out with a statement and said, and MTSU, this is Middle Tennessee State University, came out with a statement damn near immediately. An employee today offered inappropriate and callous comments on social media concerning the horrific and tragic murder of Charlie Kirk. The comments by this employee, who worked in the position of trust directly with the students, were inconsistent with our values and have undermined the university's credibility and reputation with our students, faculty, and staff, and the community at large. The employee has been fired effective immediately. We extend our deepest sympathies to the Kirk family. See, this is the reason why social media matters. This is the reason why. Because if you're out here talking crazy, you do need to be held accountable. All right, this is accountability. This person was fired, and this is the woman right here. All right, could you guess? I'm not even going to add any comment to that, but could you guess? And she got fired for making that comment on, and Libs of TikTok posted this at 12 in the morning. The post before that was at 11 o'clock at night, so it only took an hour. So in less than an hour, this person got fired for posting what they posted. Why they posted that, I have no idea. That's not a smart thing to post. Stephen King, the famous author, he's kind of lost his mind. Stephen King is a TDS sufferer. And my mom used to read Stephen King's books when I was a kid all the time. She had a whole shelf of Stephen King books. She probably still got them. Stephen King, the person, I never read his books. I'm not a fiction reader, but Stephen King, the person, has TDS, unfortunately. And that's sad. But he said, the motivation of the man who shot Charlie Kirk isn't clear, although he's probably mentally unstable. Okay, fair enough. That's nothing wrong with that. Then what he says is, what's clear is there was another example of American gun violence. Again, guns don't commit violence. So non sequitur by Stephen King there. Let's give Stephen King the non sequitur sound.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
The guns don't commit violence. Donald Trump put out a 4-minute statement. If y'all didn't see it, he actually posted this to his X account. He usually doesn't post to X. So y'all can go look that up on his X account. His name is Real Donald Trump, so y'all can find that. Mr. AT, whose name I can't say, he said it's the Turning Point USA. That's the name of the company, Turning Point USA. That's Charlie Kirk's company. Here's the guy, in case y'all don't know who that guy is. Let me take that off the screen real quick before I get banned off TikTok. The guy with the bald head who used to be a kickboxer. He said it's the Turning Point USA, and he's 100% correct. This got 8.8 million views on X. So everybody's pretty much seeing this. I said, here's what I said. Here's my post that I posted this morning. Didn't get 8.8 million views, but I did say it. I said this 8 years ago. The worst thing to be in civil America was a heterosexual white male. I said that in like 2017. Why? Because I could see the tide turning. I could see that everything was about minorities, gays, women. That's what it was about. And if you happen to be in a group inherently, you were inherently wrong if you were in a group that wasn't one of these three: minorities, gays, women. If you weren't in those groups, something was wrong with you. And that was when the attack on heterosexual white men began. And of course, people push back on me saying it because I'm not a white man. I'm heterosexual, I'm a male, but I'm not white. So people say, well, how are you saying that you're black? Well, because it's objectively true. That's why I'm saying it. I'm saying it because it's objectively true. The attack on heterosexual white men in America has been going on for at least the last 8 years. I said it 8 years ago. It was going on probably from about 2000. I say it really started about 2010. So it's really been 15 years. I pointed out 8 years ago. All right, that's true. And I said, especially if you're a conservative and you're an open Trump supporter. So in 2015, when Trump came around, if you were heterosexual white male and you supported Trump out loud, I'm not saying you support him quietly. If you support him out loud, oh, well, hey, you better strap up. You better tool up because they're coming for you. Just because of those reasons. No other reason. And everything was designed starting then to go against you. And now it's open season. Now it's become even more open season. Now you had the wave of the BLM wave in 2020. That's kind of calmed down. You had the woke wave, which is still going on. And the woke is kind of like baked into the system now. BLM kind of disappeared. And the country's been stirred into this. As I already said. Again, the temperature's been turned up. Now, again, just because the temperature got turned up, just because it's hot outside don't mean you got to put on shorts. But if everybody's wearing shorts and you're wondering why everybody's wearing shorts, well, did you have something to do with it being hot outside? Again, are you following my metaphor? That's what I'm saying about the political left. I'm not saying they did it. Now, this person named Common Sense, I don't know who this is. And I don't know if this person is a real person. I guess they are. Maybe not. They got 30,000 followers, so I'm thinking they might be a Common Sense person. They got a Blue Sky account, so I think this is a real person. This person's on Blue Sky. For those of you who know what Blue Sky is the X alternative, is the alternative to Twitter for people on the political left. And Blue Sky blew up and got really popular around October of last year. Why? Because somebody very smart saw the writing on the wall that Trump was about to win that election, and they said we got to create an alternative social media platform for people who can't stand the fact that Trump won and they don't want to be around anybody who's happy that Trump won or who can speak objectively about Trump winning. Let me create an alternative social media platform. Thus, Blue Sky got created. This guy has a Blue Sky account. So this guy is probably a real person. So it says he's a PhD and a CEO, but it doesn't say what. And he said Charlie Kirk's violent death served two purposes. Number one, the Epstein files news went away. Okay. Number two, MAGA declared civil war on liberals. Again, okay. Who would benefit from all this? Trump. Was it orchestrated? Possibly. And then he mentions Putin style and he says, looks like it. And I said, dude, cut it out. All right, this is the kind of nonsense. This is nonsense that people are saying that this kind of story, first of all, makes the Epstein files news go away. Did it? Not really. I mean, people still know about it. They're not talking about it right now, today. Nobody's talking about the fact that it's September 11th, today. Everybody's talking about this. Why? Because this is the big thing. But does it make it disappear? No. But this is the kind of nonsense. This is the TDS nonsense that I'm talking about. This is TDS. Now, this woman named JoJo from Jers. You ever seen this woman, JoJo from Jers? This is her profile picture on X. She is a staunch anti-Trumpist. I don't know what, never Trumper. She is very, very strong never Trumper. She has 1 million followers on X. Am I following her? I'm going to follow JoJo from Jers. I just followed her. I see her post all the time because I use the For You feed. So JoJo from Jers, she says, Mom, Jersey, she says Dem. She says she's a Democrat. She's Lebanese, for whatever that means. She's a hothead, and she definitely is. She tweets like one. And she said the following. She took Donald Trump's video, this 4-minute video that Donald Trump did. That's the video right there. Y'all can find that video on X. It's very prominently easy to find. She said he's pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. Did anyone expect anything other than this? Like, really? This is TDS. I'll give you one more. Bakari Sellers. Now, Bakari Sellers, I believe he used to be in politics. I think he's still active. He gets on CNN often. Bakari has 400,000 followers on X. He's a former South Carolina House of Representatives for 8 years. From 2006 to 2014, he was in the House of Representatives. Here is Bakari. I believe he's written books as well. He's probably active on a podcast circuit, and I see him sometimes in the CNN clips on that show with Abby Phillips, whatever that show is. Yeah, 2 times New York Times bestseller. And he just put a book out last year called The Moment. I don't know what moment that was because it wasn't the Democrats winning. But here's what he said. Bakari. Trump didn't mention, so he's talking about the video of Donald Trump. Trump didn't mention the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. He didn't mention the storming of the Capitol. He didn't mention pipe bombs left at the DNC. He didn't mention a break-in to kidnap Nancy Pelosi and a brutal attack on her husband, Paul. He didn't mention the assassination of Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband and the shooting of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. This is what he says as a quote tweet response to what Donald Trump said about Charlie Kirk. All right, this is TDS. All right, this is TDS. That these people just can't talk. They can't turn this off for 1 minute to just say a grown man with a wife and young kids just lost his life. Can we just talk humanely for a second? They still got to do the TDS. Let me continue to get my points off and then we'll get into the comments, folks. So some say that critics are going to try to blame this tragedy on left-wing rhetoric. I'm giving them credit. I'm not blaming it on them, but I'm giving them credit. Now, some say that rhetoric can inflame violence, but no evidence is tied to this political ideology. Yes, that's an easy way to absolve yourself of responsibility. But again, what do people on the left say when Donald Trump won? When people said Donald Trump's going to destroy the economy, when people said Donald Trump is going to incite more wars, when people said Donald Trump is going to cause people to lose their lives, when people said Donald Trump is going to, he brought in RFK and RFK is going to cause people to not take the jabs, and now kids are going to be passing away and people are going to get more sick and there's going to be another breakout. When anything that Donald Trump does, do people not say you are complicit and responsible if you voted for him or you're a fan of his or you didn't vote at all or you didn't vote for the opposition or you're not an active opposer, you are responsible for any downstream effects of the existence of Donald Trump as president. Do they not say that? Do they say that? Give me a yes or no if y'all have heard that, because I've heard it. Give me a yes or no if you've heard that. I hear that all the time, that you are responsible if you don't actively oppose Donald Trump. You do anything other than actively opposing him, any negative downstream effect of anything he does, you're responsible for it. Have you not heard that? I've heard that a bunch of times over the last 10 years. So now Charlie Kirk, who stood next to Donald Trump, has lost his life at one of his events. We don't know exactly why yet. Now all of a sudden is, oh, well, we don't have any evidence. We don't, who won't actively condemn him. But now, oh, evidence that proves this person did it for that. Even if the person gets arrested and he says, I did it because the political left told me that Donald Trump's a bad guy and I couldn't get to Donald Trump, so I got to the closest person I can get to, so I got Charlie Kirk. Even if the shooter comes out and says that directly, guess what the people on the left are going to say? What are they going to say? Well, we're not responsible for the actions of one person. You see, so there's always an escape route. But if we're going to play the game one way, we got to play it the same way on both sides. If you're going to play it that way when you're blaming this side, then we're going to play it the same way when the blame goes to you, if we want to do the blame game. If you want to do the responsibility game, whatever words you want to use, if we're going to do it on that side, we got to do it on this side. So what we doing here? That's my question. So the fact that Charlie Kirk, he got shot at the exact moment he was being asked about mass shootings and underlies this growing risk for public figures. Again, security. If you're a public figure, especially if you're on the political right and the political left, I say on both sides, have security these days. Watch your back. All right, don't be walking around looking at your phone. I was at the mall yesterday eating, and I saw these people walking around. It was like a group of like 4 people. It was like 2 guys, 2 girls. And they're all walking through the mall and they're just looking at their phones like this. And he didn't even see who they were walking up to. Don't do that, folks. Even if you're an everyday person, pay attention to your surroundings. Don't be walking around completely oblivious to what's happening around you. You have no idea what's going on around you. Pay attention. And if you happen to be a public figure, you should be doing this. This should be OPSEC. OPSEC means operational security. The security of how you move about. All right. When you get in and out of cars, when you're going into and out of venues, what venues you're going in, what's the security situation there? You're doing an event and everybody knows you're going to be there. Those of you who are on social media, especially those of you who are influencer level, stop telling people where you're at everywhere you go. Stop telling people where your house is at. Stop doing these things, because when people know where you're at and they can clock your behavior, you make yourself a target. Now, this is applying to all of you, even if you're not famous. Stop making yourself an easy target. And if you happen to be known and you got to announce that you're going to be somewhere, because that's how you sell tickets, have your security in place, because everybody else knows you're going to be there too. You just told the whole world, I'm going to be here at this time and in this place. Everybody knows what you look like. Have your operational security shit together. All right. If you're a public figure, after this happened to Charlie Kirk yesterday, let this be a lesson to you. And if you're not a public figure, you still need to be paying attention, because anything can happen to anybody. Understand, Charlie Kirk is news because he's famous, but he ain't the only person who died yesterday. Just everybody else we don't know about because they're not famous. So pay attention. All of you need to step your awareness up. Stop walking around looking at your phones. Now, at the same time, framing his death primarily through symbolism or partisanship can overshadow the real investigative facts. Well, we don't have any facts yet. So I'm going to kick the ball on this point that some say if you focus on narrative over evidence. Yeah, that sounds good when the shoe is on the other foot. But when something happens downstream of Donald Trump, the narrative is all that matters, right? But now that the narrative may be making the left look bad, now all of a sudden they want to focus on facts. Oh, now it's about facts. Oh, okay. Very convenient. So many conservatives say, had this happened to a left-leaning activist, the outcry would dominate headlines and everybody be talking about the whole world would stop. I say that's very true. Again, let's say this happened to Van Jones, and Van Jones is a left-leaning person, or somebody else who's very prominent on the left. Say this happened to somebody like AOC, and she's a politician, so it's a little bit different. But somebody who's on the left that's prominent, but they're not actually in politics, what would happen? What would the response be? It would be crazy. They probably shut down every school. People need a day off to recuperate emotionally. They need a mental health day off if something like that happened to somebody on the left. Say it happened to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, I mean, she's a different type. That's a different breed because she was a vice president. Technically, she's not a politician right now, but she was vice president. But I don't know anybody who's prominent on the left that this would even, I don't even know who it would be. But if this is on the other side, it'd be a bigger story than it even is right now. That's my point. And others say that weaponizing this tragedy to prove media hypocrisy dishonors the immediate need for facts and accountability. Again, bullshit. It's all facts all of a sudden when, again, it looked like the left might need to be held accountable here. And I think the left is going to go on doing the same thing that they've been doing. They're going to find a way to both sides this. They're going to find a way to quote this. Well, look, they did this. Trump did that. So, hey, it's kind of just what happened. We don't know. We don't have all the facts. Maybe it was a crazy person. Maybe it was a right-wing person. If it comes out this person was a conservative, then they're going to try to wipe this whole story off the headlines as if it never happened. Guaranteed. Because this happened in Utah. I don't know how many left-leaning people are walking around Utah. If it comes out that this person was a registered Republican and or a Trump supporter, even worse, they're going to try to act like this didn't even happen. Mark my words. If they find that out. But maybe they won't find it out. We'll see. All that said, folks, let's have some conversation. Well, let's have some two-sided conversation. We had the one-way conversation. Now let's have some two-sided conversation here. If you have a question or comment, you can put it in the comments in a second. Let me see what we got going on. Let's see. I think I'm going to go without the bathroom break here today. Javi over on YouTube. Good morning. I see you. Y'all can hear me now. Thank you for letting me know. Damn, Annie and Wayne. Thank you. Alan Chenard said, I don't believe he was working alone. I'm 100% confident that a three-letter agency was involved in that. Okay. Well, we'll see. Well, actually, we won't see. If a three-letter agency was involved, we'll never find out. We'll never find out. So James on Facebook said, why did I get blocked on TikTok? What did I say wrong? Well, my moderators probably blocked you. I don't know what you said, but I don't know if you're blocked. What's your name on TikTok? If you did get blocked, you got blocked by moderators, but I trust their judgment. So you must have said something crazy. I don't know what it was that you said. Let's see. I'm reading a couple comments on Instagram. Then we'll get over to you folks on Mano Saze said, I watch on YouTube. Had to come here. All right. That's what's up. YouTube's good now. All right. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to read a couple comments on Instagram. Then I'm going to get over to TikTok. Diane said, agreed that this started around Obama has just gotten worse. Well, it's gotten 10 times worse since then. Belfort said, do you care if your friend opinions on politics differ from your own? If so, how do you handle it? Does it impact your view of them? I don't give a damn, Belfort. I don't care. I can have an open conversation with someone who I actively disagree with on a subject, and it doesn't affect me emotionally, and I don't have any difference with them personally. But in my experience, those people can't deal with the fact that we disagree, because I'm not the type of person that you're not going to get me emotional over a political argument, because I really don't give a damn. I have no dog in the political race. So I can talk about politics all day, and I'm not going to be mad at you personally because you have a different opinion than me, because I really don't care. So I can do that, but the people who I would talk to, they can't do it. That's the problem. Mindful said, thank you for this conversation today. You're welcome. Soul Art said, people's views on politics directs how they live their lives. If their life doesn't align with yours, and you can't have minimal contact with them, but you don't have to vilify or kill them. Yes, well, that's how some people are. I wish everybody was not like that. Your point is a strong point, that a lot of people And this has only been true since Trump. And this is the point that I was making earlier. This has only been true since Trump. What's been true since Trump, like before Trump, let's say you were a Democrat or you were a Republican. You could go to Thanksgiving dinner and you could argue with your family members about Democrats and Republicans over Bill Clinton, over George W. Bush. Even when we went into those wars, you could argue about George W. Bush. You could argue about Obama. And at family gatherings with people in your family, your uncle, your grandma, your cousin, if you had a disagreement on politics. It was only after Trump came in that you could no longer talk to your own family members about political disagreements because people are emotionally engaged in their vehement disagreement with Donald Trump. It wasn't emotional when it was Obama. It was not emotional when it was Bush. It was not emotional when it was Clinton. It became emotional when it became Trump. That's when people started losing their minds. That's what TDS is. People started losing their minds over Donald Trump. People did not lose their minds over Barack. They lost their minds over Trump. That's when it got crazy. So I get what you're saying. So Art said, I don't know if better security could have prevented that. Well, yes, it could. It just depends on how much security we're talking. Let's say if that was Trump speaking at that school, would the security have been different? Yes, because you saw in the Butler, even at the Butler event, when that shooter was on the roof, there were the Secret Service shooters. They were on the other roof and they saw him and they took him out. Too late, but they did take him out. Charlie Kirk didn't have shooters on the roof. So that's the difference. For the president, they look at every single possible touch point from anywhere the president might go, from the time he gets out the car to the time he walks in the building to the time he walks out. They look at every possible way somebody could reach him, and they secure all of it. That's what Secret Service security is supposed to do. Now, they didn't do a good job in Butler, PA, but hopefully they stepped their game up ever since then. Charlie Kirk security is not quite that level, or it was not quite that level. Belfort says, interesting, anytime a liberal perspective is shared is marked as that they love everyone. Conservative share perspective is being called hate. Why? Well, that's the temperature that's been created. That's the whole point. The whole point is that they made it into that. Belfort said, the difference because it's a lot more money involved than when we grew up. That's why you see people are absolutely on one side or the other. Well, I mean, that's where Kamala's $1 billion went. Kamala spent $1 billion on the last campaign. Where do you think the money was going? It went to paying influencers and paying people to show up at her events. Mindful said, this is a great conversation. Thank you for this morning. Some normal discussion, a very hard time. You're welcome. Belfort says, certainly profitable because you benefit from tribalism and a mob. That is true. That's true. That is very true. Will Avila said, thank you for your logic and discussions. It shows me, inspired me to do the same when I make my points when discussions with anyone who don't see my views. Yes, well, not everybody's going to see your views no matter what you said. You just got to find the right audience. Soul Art said, I'm so tired of these liberals acting like the sky is about to fall because someone disagrees with them. They don't really think the sky is about to fall. See, that's all performative, but they've been taught that. Yeah, B. Miller, Tony Hinsliff, that was who it was. B. Miller said, MAGA has not been quiet around the Chicago land area in the past 10 years. All right, fair enough. I'm talking bigger picture is what I'm saying. So Art said, I don't know if they make more noise. I think their rhetoric is just more harmful and stokes more fear. Well, that's what gets more attention. That's the whole point. It gets more attention. Well, the people celebrating, some of them are just performing. B. Miller, I appreciate it. Where I get them from, different places. Different places. They don't all come from the same place. Delfer said, fear is the cheapest form of marketing, but has the highest profit potential. Yes, well, fear works to move people to action because people don't move based off of desire to gain. They move off of desire to not lose. It's a whole genre of music that glamorizes that. Yes, I agree. And let me get a couple more comments on Instagram, then we go. Then we'll go to TikTok. Martin Fabian said, you don't oppose, you're responsible. Yes, that's been the frame, and that's a false frame, but that's what's been told. Belfer said, why is it assumed you're black, you're anti-conservative values? That's obviously the same with C. Kirk. Why, if you're black, you're anti-conservative? Well, black people actually tend to be more conservative than liberal. Black people actually have conservative views. And black people, a lot of black folks, especially during the days of slavery and Jim Crow, black people turned to religion and we turned to the church. And the religion and the church are conservative leaning things, whereas the leftist leaning is much more secular and is not religion related, is not religion based, is not church based, is not faith based at all. It's do what thou wilt. It's do whatever you want to do, make your own rules and follow no standards, no rules. Again, this is where the entropy comes from. I mean, where's the rainbow flag supported by, the left or the right? All right, clearly it's supported by the left. And a lot of the things that the rainbow flag is about is anti any religion. There's no religion that supports the rainbow flag, allegedly. But then you have people like Raphael Warnock, Reverend Raphael Warnock down in Georgia, calling himself a reverend, preaching at church, but then saying that you got to support the LGBT. That doesn't make any sense. That's not biblical. Where's he getting that from? What chapter in the Bible is that? Did he get that from? I don't know about it. I'm no expert on the Bible. I'm no religious scholar, but that ain't in the Bible. Where did he get that from? But because he's on the political left, he has to try to make that make sense. He has to try to make it make sense, even though it doesn't make sense. So as far as the conservatism, I think a lot of black people are much more conservative than it seems. I think many black people, however, at the same time, are pragmatic enough to understand that if you come out and you verbally support Donald Trump anytime in the last 10 years, you are threatening your relationship with family members, your relationship with friends, and possibly your job. So a lot of black people just decide to stay quiet. They don't want to come out and say, hey, I support Trump, or even say anything neutral or positive about Donald Trump because of the possible backlash they can get from doing so. And I understand that. I even say that on my podcast, that type of things that I talk about on these platforms or on my podcast or on my emails or on social media, period, I can talk about them because I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have any bosses. I don't answer to anybody. I never will have a boss, nor will I ever answer to anybody again in my life. So I can afford to say these things. There's nothing nobody can do to me. But if you got a job and you work in corporate America and you've been there 15 years and you're trying to work there for the next 30, well, you might want to keep your mouth shut because you might be threatening your career advancement by saying the wrong thing at the wrong time about the wrong person. I understand. I'm not mad at the black person who keeps their mouth shut because they got to think about paying their bills. I get it. At the same time, I will say what they can't say or what they won't say. I'll say it because, again, there's nothing anybody can do to me. So that's the answer to your question, Bill. Getting over to TikTok. By the way, TikTok, I cannot see every comment that has come here today, so please don't take it personal if I don't see your comment. But I do see comments. I will not be able to read every comment. I'm just reading from the ones I can see now because earlier in this stream, we had like 1,000 people in here and the comments were just streaming in. You can't see everything. Queen Co was asking about the children at the school. What about them? I mean, we can't talk about everything, Queen Coco. I thank you for bringing them up, but I can't talk about everything. I pick a topic and we talk about that topic. Steve, thanks for the share. Bambino said, no, Abby said someone should have been on the roofs. Yeah, well, that requires more security. I don't think Charlie had that level of security. That's a lot of security. Chris Shorell, thank you for the follow. Bambino said they're not rage baiters, LMAO. I didn't use that term. I didn't use the term rage baiters. Jenny said we had a taste last month of what? Elisha Casey Zombie, thank you for the follows. Sewing Queen said Pearl Harbor, sleeping giant has been awakened. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if this is Pearl Harbor. Let's see. Anne Marie said the difference from the Minnesota politicians is that no one applauded their passing like Charlie's. That's a good point. Fair point. Abby said, look at the illegal people who flew to El Salvador. What about them? Lando said, do you see how hard it was for you to name a left-alike person? Yeah, I still can't name one. I mean, we said Van Jones, but Van Jones is not on the level of Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about someone who's just independently going around and making their arguments. Van Jones he works for CNN. Who's somebody who's independent? The person I just saw a couple of weeks ago what was that chick's name? Amanda Seals. She's not equal to Charlie Kirk at all. She's not even close. But she's in the lane of doing it independently. Like she's not working for some company. She's just out saying her stuff on her podcast or YouTube, whatever the hell she's doing. She's not very good, but she thinks she's good. She's the person I'm looking for, someone in that lane, but at a higher level than her. So who is that? I don't think there is anybody. I guess the closest is these two young white kids, the Dean kid and the Harry kid. Harry Sisson, Dean Withers. I think Dean Withers is one. I see him on X pretty often. And the other one is Harry Sisson. Let me look them up. Those are the two that I'm thinking. Those are the closest that I can come up with. Y'all got anybody else? I can't think of anyone. On the left, yeah, it's Dean Withers is this kid right here. And he looks like he's about 22. I don't know how old he actually is. Modern American Patriot. I stream daily on TikTok and YouTube. So he's on TikTok. For those of you, I've never seen him on TikTok. I only see him on X. And he has 400,000 followers. And then there's another guy named Harry. And what's his name? Harry. Yeah, Harry. Let me find him. Yeah, Harry Sisson. He's 22. He's also a Democrat. I'm going to follow Harry. So y'all see, following. I just followed him on X. So I told you, I follow people on every side of this. So I just follow Harry. He got 325,000 followers. He's a Democrat. He says he has 1 million followers on TikTok. So I'm assuming he goes live on TikTok too. He's on YouTube as well. His YouTube link is on here. And all of this. And these are probably the closest two. but I don't think either one of them is close to Charlie, but maybe they are. Hey, maybe they are. And then you got Mr. Nick, whose name I can't say. I talked about him yesterday. You know who I'm talking about? Mr. Nick. He's not even on YouTube or TikTok. I believe he's on, actually, I know he's on Rumble because I was listening to him yesterday. He's only on Rumble because I think he got banned from every other app. He's on X, but he's banned everywhere else. Mr. Nick, his last name starts with the letter F, but he's on the right. So who is it on the left? I don't know who it is. It's like a collective group on the left. They don't have individuals. This is a big group. So that's what I'm seeing. Shiloh, thanks for the follow. Jenny said 2 Democratic. Yeah, I know. We brought them up. Candace said the whataboutism is infuriating. Well, it's all part of the game. I mean, don't get mad about it. It's all part of the game. Ricky Yoya 7, thank you for the follow. 3000 said it's not the left's fault. No, I didn't say it is. I'm not blaming them. I'm saying that they contributed. They are contributors to the situation. We can't blame them because they didn't. You can't blame a group for something that one person does. I'm an absolutist on that. Even if the group influenced the person, you still get to decide what to do. Johnny said they can't justify by blaming Trump. Well, they're trying. Go on X today. They're trying. They're trying very hard. Derek Johnson said, who is they? The political left is the they that I'm referring to. Boredom One Today said, facts get ignored all the time by the left. How many officers, shooters are politicized without facts? Yes, the left. Everybody ignores facts when it suits their argument. I mean, that's how it goes. And people will pick and choose which facts to use. So just because you're given a fact does not mean you're given all the facts. You can easily take a fact out of context. Jenny, you posted like the same comment like 30 times. We saw it. 000AK00, thanks for the follow. Angel Hoyle, thank you for the follow. Pacific Northwest, complete bull. Nobody cares on either side when their opponents die. We live is a violent place. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, technically, yes, violence happens, but is it like every day you walk out your house concerned about possible violence? Most people ain't walking around with a weapon ready to use it. So I don't think that's the case. Rachel Medina said they won't find a person if it was a professional. No, professionals can get caught too. I think they will find them. Haley Jane, thanks for the follow. Lefty said, when will the right say enough is enough? Well, people are saying it now, but what exactly do you do? How do you stop it? No, I didn't forget 9/11. I mentioned it. Luke, thank you for the follow. User, thank you for the follow. Queen said, you say a lot crazy. What does that mean? Michaela, thanks for the follow. Moderator, traditionally you block Murphy the Mutt. What happened? Murphy the Mutt usually is pretty good here. I don't know what Murphy the Mutt did. Murphy the Mutt should be unblocked. If James Halliburton, are you Murphy the Mutt? What's your name over on James? What's your name on TikTok? But I saw Murphy the Mutt got blocked. But Murphy the Mutt is pretty good. Murphy the Mutt shouldn't be blocked. So whoever blocked and moderators, y'all can unblock Murphy the Mutt. They're good. Delilah, thanks for the follow. Chelsea said, now's a good time to elect someone in the middle. Well, good luck. We got 3 years to go. Kay Hendricks said, words cannot harm you. Technically, they can't. But again, depending on who you're listening to, you could be told the words can very much harm you. That's the issue. Nick, thanks for the follow. Kay Hendricks said he was not assassinated for his politics. He was assassinated for his faith. Well, we don't know yet. Kay Hendricks, we can't make that conclusion. We can't draw the conclusion yet. We don't have all the information. We don't know who did it. Melissa, thank you for the follow. Frank G said true. NB said they'd be ready to chop my head off. Who are you talking about? User said family gatherings became fights way before Trump. My family is a perfect example. Well, your family is anecdotal. I'm speaking directionally and in the big picture. Todo says, say it louder. Thank you. Joanna, thank you for the repost. NB said Barack wants every male to have a gay knee. Yeah, I've heard Barack talking crazy. Barack been talking crazy. Todo, he was talking crazy when he was president, actually. He just got away with it. A gay mentor, yes. Yeah, he did say that. He did say that. You're right about that. Jenny said we didn't have a pedo as president before. Okay.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Here we go.
Strawberry cheesecake.
So, Jenny, you got the straw man in the day. We didn't have a pedo as president before. Who was his victim as pedo? And if he's a pedo, that means it should be because that's a criminal offense. So when was his case? What was the adjudication, and what was his penalty for the adjudication of being a PDF? What was it? So people keep saying this, but again, that's a criminal offense. So if he did it, what's the criminal offense? J Rocka 01. Well, I don't know what you said. I had to see. J Rocka 01. I can't make you any promises, but I generally trust my moderator's judgment. Nathan said people didn't lose their minds over Obama because the right doesn't act the way the left does. I would have to agree with that position. Miss Dad Beard said, my family has always been that way. Religion and politics were not to be discussed. Well, again, your family is anecdotal. I'm talking in a big picture. Most people in general could talk about Obama and disagree, but it wasn't like some knockdown, drag out thing. In Trump, it became the temperature got turned up. Kiki said Trump is hateful and his hatefulness rewarded him as president. That's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
What's hateful about Trump? Tell me what exactly about him is hateful. Big Sam says, so Malcolm was not shot. Martin, Medgar Evers, are you serious right now? What are you talking about? I didn't say anything about any of these people. Why are you bringing them up?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Woody said, are we at a place as a society today that political discourse calls for grave consequence? Yes, that's where we are. That's where we're at. So, Samantha, thanks for the follow. Sam said, we are simply making America great again. What do you mean by that? What did we do to make America great again? Yersi, thanks for the follow. Jim Mier, thanks for the follow. Foxy Mom, thanks for the share. MB said, praying for twerk dancers. What does that mean? Fan Dean said, RIP Charlie Kirk. Okay. Kel Garman, good morning. Luann, thanks for the follow. Jason Worthington said he should have had bulletproof glass in front of him. Yeah, well, what's the purpose of doing an outdoor event? You have bulletproof glass in front of you. I get what you're saying, but nah. Sarah Crutchfield, Keith, thank you for the follow. Keith Blanchard. User said, it's sad she had to pay people to show up. LOL. Well, it's not really sad. That was part of the strategy. The strategy was pay people to show up, get a bunch of people to come to her events, get video and pictures of all the events, then send them to your Democratic influencers, then have them go on X and say, damn, look at all these people coming to Kamala's events. She obviously has a lot of fans. Then you use the bandwagon fallacy. Since everybody's coming to Kamala's events, that must mean she's very popular, which must mean she's going to win. That must mean I should go vote for her too. I understand the strategy was that get people to think that everybody's supporting Kamala. So that means you should support Kamala. That would win her more votes. That's kind of how it works. Any of you ever seen influencer marketing on social media? Why do you think people go on social media and show you that they live in a nice house or that they're at some exotic place or they drive a nice car? Why do they show you those things? They show you those things not because they're offering it to you. They show it to you because if you believe they already got all this stuff and they got it by doing whatever they do in business, then that means you're going to sign up for their course or buy their book or join their mastermind because look at all the success they have. So they're showing you the success they already got to entice you to think you can get the same success if you just do what I tell you to do, and it entices you to go follow them. Does that work? Not on everybody, but does it work in general? Yes, it does. So Kamala Harris is doing the same thing that influencers on Instagram do. And it got her all the way to November 5th. Now, it didn't get her past November 5th, but she tried. So I understand why she did it, because if Kamala Harris had real substance as a candidate, she wouldn't need to do that. But she didn't have any, so she had to do that. And it didn't work, but it almost worked. So we can't laugh at it too much. She was the vice president, and she was 7 swing states away from being the president. 7 swing states is a long way, but she got to the last day. So don't laugh too hard because she might be back in 2028. Okay, so I tell people political conservatives, all right, don't get cocky. Don't get cocky. 2026 is a year away, and 2028 is 3 years away. Don't get cocky. Happiness said, I saw a video of someone from behind Charlie. You can see somebody run off the roof. Yeah, I mentioned that. I saw that. Terrence Hall said, the right made it that way. Why do you support a racist agenda being a black man?
Strawberry cheesecake.
The right not make it that way. I explained this extensively here today. And it became that way when Donald Trump came into the picture, which was the political left going against him. The left made it that way. And what about Trump makes his agenda racist? Name one thing that's racist in the Donald Trump agenda, And the fact that I'm black, first of all, you're bringing that up as a way of saying, well, if you're black, you're supposed to have a certain opinion. You're unqualified to tell me what type of opinion to have.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
And it's a loaded question because your question is assuming that there is a racist agenda. And because I'm black, I'm not allowed to support the agenda that you're claiming is racist, but you haven't explained why it's racist. So that's also a fallacy.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
So you get the Russell Westbrook triple-double award, Terrence Hall 181.
Oh, baby, it's triple! Oh, yeah!
Congratulations, Terrence Hall 181 for the triple-double award, the Russell Westbrook triple-double award of the day. Erica, thank you for the follow. Colin said, you're a good man. Thank you. Josh says, trends are loved too. People can't cut jobs and think everyone is happy. Well, Josh, what does it have to do with anything that I said?
Strawberry cheesecake.
I didn't say anything about people being loved and cutting jobs and thinking everyone is happy. I didn't say everybody need to be happy either. And people get cut from jobs every day. Getting cut from jobs is not some new thing. It happens all the time. Adam Sizzle, thank you for he said preach, thank you. Sam said it's reality-based. What are you referring to? Mouse Niece, thank you for the follow. John, thanks for the follow. Mental Libtard said the mainstream media should be held accountable for their lies and propaganda against conservatives. Well, Mental Libtard, you're right. And let me tell you, Mental Libtard, how they get held accountable. They get held accountable on election day. That's all you can do because the media is allowed. I mean, let's remember, First Amendment is free speech. You have the right to say what you want to say, even if what you're saying is crazy, even if what you're saying is ridiculous, even if what you're saying is a lie. For the most part, that is protected under the First Amendment. You can say anything you want. So if the mainstream media wants to talk easy about MAGA, they're allowed to do that. The way you push back on them is you might not be able to have as much firepower. I'm not saying you personally, but MAGA itself does not have enough firepower to push back against every single thing that they say. But what you can do is you can vote for the politician of your choice on election day, and the mainstream media has to sit there and try to explain away how they said all that shit and still lost on election day, i.e. November 5th, 2024. All the stuff the mainstream media did to make Trump look bad and vilify him for 10 years, and he still won the election, was a loud and clear message from the country that all the stuff the mainstream media says still was not enough to get the outcome that they were trying to get. That's the way you win. So sometimes the one thing that you do can overcome the 1,000 things that they do. So that's just a efficiency of effort. Sam said the left is reality based. Yeah, right, Sam.
Oh, I like your funny words, Magic Man.
You're not trying to be funny, but I'll give you the funny soundboard sound for saying that. Tom said the rhetoric started because Smith-Mundt Act was repealed, was allowed propaganda to be spread. Okay, fair enough. I mean, we do have a First Amendment. Liz, thanks for the follow. Barker Football, Colin, thank you for the follow. MB said, do as thou wilt. Yes, that's right. Satanic mantra, that is true. Sam says, so a mystery man in the sky makes sense. That's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I didn't say anything about a man in the sky, and I didn't say anything about anything making sense. Nathan said, everything you just stated about religion is why it's confusing why melanated people vote Democrat. Okay, fair enough point. We're not going to dive into that today, but I get what you're saying. Diana, thanks for the share. The reason melanated people vote Democrat is because a lot of them were raised in an era where they were told that the Democrats were the party to support black people because of the policies put in place by President Lyndon Baines Johnson in the 1960s. And he was a Democrat, and he framed it as the Democrats are doing all these things to help black people, quote unquote, catch up to the rest of America. And a bunch of Democrats were indoctrinated with that idea. Black people, were indoctrinated with that idea, and they've carried that idea for the last 60 years. So that explains it. So religion was not a consideration when this was happening. And it has been attributed but highly debated whether Lyndon Baines Johnson once said, I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to have those in words voting Democrat for the rest of their lives. Now, did he actually say that? We don't know. We'll never know. But some people say he did. Some people say he didn't. But it is somewhat believable given what he did and given how it worked. Whatever he did, it worked. So I got a bunch of black people thinking Democrat or nothing. They're all in on Democratic Party no matter what, forever. And it worked. That's all we can say. And sometimes you got to give credit to something working, even if you don't like what it was or how they went about doing it. Mental Libtard said the Democratic politicians should be held accountable, rising propaganda against conservatives. Well, again, I already explained it. You get held accountable by voting against them, not by arguing back against them. But Donna said anybody can have a platform. Yes, that's true. But some people's platforms are bigger than others. That's the whole thing. Odie's girl, thank you for the follow. But Donna said, who are you? My name is Baldwin. Many know me as DreAllDay, former 9-year pro athlete. Run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Click the link in my profile with Donna. You can learn more about me. Annie, thanks for the share. Colin, thank you. Diana, thank you for the share. Buff at the Bin said he's a black man with a voice and opinion. Yes, that's a good answer. Thank you. Let me respond to a few more comments. We do a little bit of overtime here today because I went over in my commentary here today. While we're waiting, not waiting, but on this intermission, get my book, Third Day, Decision Separates the Pros from the Amateurs, by going to the link in my profile, thirdDayBook.com, the Mirror of Motivation, the Self-Guide, the Self-Discipline, mirrorofmotivation.com. And if you're more business-minded, Sales Discipline System, salesdisciplinebook.com. I'll mention these again before we're done. I'm missing those now at 10 o'clock because I am going to go overtime here today. I usually get done at 10 o'clock. But if you want one of these books, we give them away for free. All you have to do is cover the shipping. We will physically ship you a book. Go to the link in my profile on whatever app or salesdisciplinebook.com, mirrorofmotivation.com, thirdDayBook.com. I'll physically ship you a book. But let's continue with the commentary. I'm going to go overtime here today because I did go a little bit extra. Let me check my schedule, as a matter of fact, make sure I'm not bumping into anything. And yeah, we're good. All right, so I'll do a little bit extra here today. Karina said, I'm just jumping around the comments here, folks. I can't read every single comment. And let me see where I'm at. Let me see how far back I can go. No, we got a lot. I can't even say everything. Now is the time. So I just found you on TikTok. Thank you. Someone said, I'm in corporate. My coworkers, old and young, do not care about SM, social media. Okay, fair enough. Carter, thank you for the follow. Josh said he's messing up the world, only helping his stock friends. Who you talking about, Trump? I don't know about that one. Laurel, thanks for the follow. Rachel said, I think it was an inside job, so professional, no. What do you mean by inside job? Like he did it to himself? Inside job would mean he did it to himself. Like he organized his own shooting. I don't think that's the case. Jess, thanks for the follow. Anastasia, thank you for the follow. Kelly, thank you for the heart. Salty Chip, thanks for the follow. Tim Step, thanks for the follow. Josh said, definitely inside job. Y'all know what it means to be an inside job? That means that he actually coordinated it or somebody on his own team did it to him. I don't think that's the case. Mama Chaos said, it's so sad. We shouldn't have to live in fear to speak freely. The world is messed up. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Karina said, all of them combined cannot compare to Charlie. I agree if we're talking outcomes. No, we're talking outcomes. You're right. Sam said, well, only the right is blindly faithful to one person like you're king. Only people on the right do that. Sam, I would disagree with that. I don't think that's true.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Trump has his fans, of course. Just like the same way Kamala had fans, same way Biden had fans, same way Obama had fans. Every president has a bunch of fans. Donald Trump just has more fans. And his fans are more devoted to him than any of those other presidents or candidates' fans were devoted to them. It doesn't mean that they're blindly faithful. It just means that they're bigger fans. It's like Beyonce has more fans than, name some other singer who's good, but they're not as popular as Beyonce. They are more faithful and more supportive of Beyonce than some singer who sings at a cabaret in damn Lincoln, Nebraska is to that girl. She might have fans, but she ain't got as many as Beyonce. So Donald Trump just has more fans, and people's way of rationalizing the fact that Donald Trump has devoted fans is by saying that they're blindly faithful, as if they can't think for themselves. And they say, well, they look at him like he's a king, as if they didn't have a personal democratic choice in choosing to support him, both of which are not true.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
So what you just did there, Sam, is what we call a group ad hominem. So you're calling them blindly faithful as if they can't think for themselves. But of course, you think for yourself by going against them. They're not thinking for themselves because they have a different opinion from you. But your opinion just happens to be very logical and rational because you happen to go against them. That's a very convenient frame, don't you think? Madonna said, the fact that you didn't know her paints the picture. Who's the her you talking about? Windrow said he was controversial, racist, homophobic. However, that does not warrant a death sentence. Well, was he controversial? I don't think a person can be controversial. I think your positions can be controversial. I think Charlie Kirk took controversial positions by one standing next to Donald Trump. That's a controversial position. Now, if he was racist, I don't know about that. You would have to give me context. He was homophobic. I don't know about that one either. Now, he may have been against the concept of LGBTQ. He has a right to do that. That doesn't make him homophobic. Phobic means you're afraid of something. I don't think he's afraid of it. I think he was saying, as a person of faith, that this does not align with the faith that I have decided to align myself with. I'm aligned with this faith, and this faith said this thing is wrong. That doesn't make you phobic of the thing. It just means you're against it. So calling it phobic is a way of straw manning the person's position. And then you said it doesn't warrant a death sentence. That part, you're right. I'll give you a clap for that. So Windrow, I'll give you a clap for saying something logical here. To end, you ended with some logic, but you started with a whole bunch of straw men.
Strawberry cheesecake.
So you get both. Lee and Lisa said neither of those boys had the kahunas to be confronted. I agree, and neither one of them had produced the outcomes that Charlie Kirk produced. That I'm an outcome-based person. That's the way I like to look at things. Sam said, that's why you can't think of one. The left does not act like a blind servant for anyone. Well, that sounds good. But the problem is, Sam, that the left right now lost not only the executive branch, but they also lost the House and they also lost the Senate. So you can console yourself with this cope of the left doesn't act like a blind servant, but the left right now is losing. And this is an outcome-based business.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Angela said, pretty sure they are paid by the DNC. Oh, they're absolutely paid by the DNC. That's not even a pretty sure. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. Vincent said, all right, what you said about having to have the freedom to say what you want. Yes, it's an important thing these days because a lot of people can't say certain things because they don't want to jeopardize their. And also, you got to think about, even if you're an entrepreneur, because you may have customers who are on both sides and they don't want to hear you say something that disturbs them. I got customers and clients, but I will say what I believe. And if you decide you don't want to buy from me anymore because I said something you don't like, then you got to go. You go buy from somebody else. That you're going to lose more than I'm going to lose by you going away from me. That's my position. And I published that, by the way. That's not something that I just came up with. Amy Vivian McGo, thanks for the follow. Nathan said they are the closest and they're not even that close. I agree. They're not as big as Charlie. I agree. You know, a bunch of you saying the same thing. I agree. Worrell said Dean and Harry are paid and given scripts. They don't have any power except to spew TDS lies. Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people on the left who fit that description. So, I mean, a bunch of, and they're popular because they like to do the debating thing. But are they as effective as Charlie? Popular and effective are two different things. You can be very popular, but not very effective. Ashley Untamed, thanks for the follow. Wifey said Dean was at the event yesterday. I heard him say either he or his friend was. I heard him say something about his friend was at the event. I don't know if he was there, but you're saying he was there. Fine. Kiki said Hassan Piker is above Charlie. I don't even know who that is. Sam said Charlie was afraid to debate them because they cooked Charlie every time. I heard that they were trying to get him to debate. The problem with that frame, Sam, is cooking, quote unquote, is all colloquial about what the crowd says, but you got to look at track records. If you look at outcomes, again, I'm an absolutist when it comes to you are responsible for your actions. I'm also an absolutist when it comes to we got to judge things by their results. The result of Charlie Kirk's work is that he helped Trump get elected in 2024. That's undeniable. Those two guys, Charlie and Dean, they both been trying to debate Charlie, and you said that they cook him. So if they cooked him so much, how come they weren't able to achieve the outcome that he was able to achieve? We got to look at the outcomes, not just quote unquote cooking. Cooking is just what some random people in the crowd, the peanut gallery, has to say about it. The actual outcome, i.e. electoral votes, is what really matters. And when it came to electoral votes, well, we saw what happened.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Pampa Bean said, when you can't be canceled, you're a fear, and the only thing they can do is X you off. Pretty much. JC said, are you advocating retaliation? No, I was clear about that. Karina said, Charlie, Tucker, Rogan, Megyn Kelly, and Candace surpasses all of them. Yes, this is true. And the thing is, with the right, you have a whole bunch more individuals that have very strong platforms or people who are independent. I don't think Joe Rogan would call himself being on the right. And then on the left, you have a much more people. It's a bigger volume of people, but none of them is standing as tall individually. So on the right, you had Charlie, who's now not here. That's a gap to be filled. You had Tucker. You have Megyn Kelly, who is generally independent, but she waved her flag. She planted her flag on the Trump side. She did do that. And Candace Owens. So they're individuals who are very high, but then on the left, you have more people, but they're not as high. So that's the difference. Rachel said 80% of people hated him. He was sexist, racist, and only liked to be right. You talking about Charlie? I don't know about 80% of people hated him. I would disagree with that. He supported Trump and half the country voted for Trump. So where'd you get that 80% number from?
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Also, Ben Shapiro, as Soul Art said on the right. Ben Shapiro. Carol K, thanks for the follow-up. Sam said, the left is proud to not have blind. So, you already said that like 3 times. Jakyle, thanks for the follow. Simply Lunacy, thanks for the follow. Racing Fire, Turkey, thanks for the follows. Jenny said, isn't Candace independent? No, Candace is a conservative. She's not MAGA, but she is a conservative. So she's still on the right. I don't see her voting for Kamala Harris. She probably voted for Trump, even if she disagreed with some of the things that he said. Tico said, why didn't Trump send a National Guard to find the shooter? The National Guard's job is not to find shooters. That's the FBI's job. So you're asking the wrong question.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Windrow said the same thing, that they debated and soundly beat Charlie. Well, beat him how? On what scoreboard? On what scoreboard do you win a debate? The only place where a debate is actually scored is like a literal, like scholastic debate where there's judges and all that. But these kind of debates that Charlie would do and that these other people do, there's no scoreboard. So how do you say somebody won? Usually when people are debating and you say one person won, it's usually because you like that person and you don't like the other person. So you're going to say the person you liked won and the person you don't like lost. So they say, oh, Charlie got cooked by this guy. That's because you don't like Charlie. So that kind of undermines your position, because people can predict you're probably going to say that because you don't like the other person. But what Charlie won was the 2024 election. What were they debating about? If they were debating in 2024, they were debating about which candidate should win the 2024 election. Who won? Donald Trump. So that's the ultimate win. That's the win that matters the most. So a couple of you are leaving these comments about winning these allegedly winning these battles, but they didn't win the war. Which one matters the most? Trey Cornelison, thanks for the follow. Mary Harris, thanks for the follow. Terry, Ellis Knight, GM2, Mia, Lefty, all thanks for the follow. Big Sam said Sink and the Young Turks. He's probably the closest one. Probably him. Probably Sink. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The Young Turks, yes. He's probably the closest one. But even the woman that he does the show with, she's a little bit more in the middle. Anna, she seems a little bit more in the middle. Hales, thanks for the follow. Nana said, if you're a white conservative, they'll come for you. Generally, depending on where you're at. Flows, thanks for the follow. Tanner Spar said, love the live and your opinion on everything. Thank you. Deborah Melly, thanks for the follow. Tina said, that's my question. What do we do now? How do we be a part of the solution? The solution to what problem? What's the problem we're discussing? Because some of these things are just circumstances. Because we got to understand the framing between a problem and a circumstance. Let me back up. A problem has a solution. Every problem can be solved. That's why it's a problem. If you label something a problem, that means there's a solution. Problem is raining outside and I got to walk outside to the car. The solution is grab an umbrella. All right, that problem has a solution. Now, the fact that it's raining is not a problem. The fact that it's raining is a circumstance, because you can't stop the rain. You can't stop it from raining. All you can do is make an adjustment to the rain. You adjust to a circumstance. You don't solve a circumstance. So it depends on what we're referring to here, Tina. Are you referring to the circumstance or the problem? Circumstance is that the Second Amendment protects people's right to bear arms. And some people go above and beyond that right, and they bear arms illegally. But we know that this is true in America. All right, that's a circumstance. You're not going to stop that. We're not taking guns away. Even though this tragic event just happened, we're not taking the guns away, because the Second Amendment says we have a right to guns. And the right to guns is to keep the government from getting out of control. That's the reason why we have a right to bear arms. And even though this tragedy just happened and it was done by a gun, we don't know if it was legal or not yet. Even if we find out it was illegal, we're not taking the guns away. Not based on this. No, we're not doing it. Even if the school shooting, we're not taking them away. Why? Because of the reason, as I said, it's a fundamental part of being an American is that we have the guns. If y'all want to know, you want more reason why, look at what happened with the virus a few years ago in the countries where there is no Second Amendment. They got locked down for real. Y'all thought we got locked down? No, they got locked down for real. Like, you couldn't go outside. You couldn't leave your house. You couldn't go to the grocery store unless they let you go to the grocery store. That's a real lockdown. That didn't happen in America because we got guns. And people eventually said, okay, we coming outside. And the government didn't have enough to stop us. There's not enough people in the military to stop 350 million Americans, and so many of them have guns. They can't stop 350 million Americans who say this is how it's going. So that's a circumstance. That's not a problem. And most of what we talk about here today are circumstances, not problems. So I don't know if there is anything to be solved. Mama Mutt, thanks for the follow. Emily Designs, thanks for the follow. Big Sam said, David Patman, Hassan Piker, Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball I know about. I've seen that. You don't know these people because you are conservative. Straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I don't know about those people because there are 10,000 people publishing on social media every day, Big Sam. And just because you don't know about a person does not mean that you are on a person. You're on a particular side politically. Your argument doesn't even make logical sense. Jonas, thanks for the follow. Alicia P, thanks for the follow. Rachel says, sometimes words hurt more than anything else. Rachel, I had to let you speak for yourself on that one. I get what you're saying, but that's a person-to-person circumstantial point that you just made. Limo Dave, thanks for the Bat Boy Tater. I never saw that one before. Mary Harris, thanks for the share. Karina said, my family was divided at one point during the Obama era. I'm sure that happens. We'll do about 15 more minutes here, folks. Then my battery's going to be dead. Then we got to wrap up. Nathan said, the weapon used was a bolt action with the conversion still about to be gun control, mental health, which are valid conversations. Yes, they are valid conversations. Mental health is always going to be a conversation because you can't measure mental health. You never know what's going on in somebody else's head. Now, as far as gun control, what exactly does that mean? That's a loaded phrase, gun control. I am an absolutist on another point, is that we have a constitution for a reason. Free speech. People are allowed to say whatever they want. Even if you think they're ridiculous, they're allowed to say it. And we have a right to bear arms for a reason. That keeps the government in check. That's the reason why we have a right to bear arms. One of the trade-offs of right to bear arms that some people will violate that right by using their arms in illegal ways, such as using their firearm on other civilians in ways that they should not. That's one of the trade-offs of the right to bear arms. And do we have to accept that trade-off? Yes, we do. We have to accept that trade-off. Cindy, thanks for the follow. Daniel said, y'all people feel so comfortable calling people a pedo in the faces now. I mean, fastest. Yeah, people said it so many times that it's lost its value. Sam said, we can't figure out the criminal offense because y'all keep covering up the Epstein files. Who's y'all, first of all?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Most of us who are listening to this live and participating right now are not working in the government. So none of us is covering up anything. And secondly, everybody keeps mentioning the Epstein files and then says, well, why is nobody talking about the Epstein files? So everybody's talking about it every day. So how are people saying that nobody's talking about the Epstein files while everybody's talking about the Epstein files?
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Traditional, I don't know if he's unblocked. I just saw that he had gotten blocked. So I'm hoping that he's not blocked. Maybe he'll be back in tomorrow. I don't know if he is still in here. Big Sam said, Angela Rye, I've heard of her. Mark Lamont, heard of him. Dr. Cornel West, heard of him. Charlamagne the God, heard of him. Rashad Robinson, haven't heard of him. But none of these people is nearly on the level of Charlie Kirk. And also the other issue with all of these folks, maybe not Angela Rye, but definitely Mark Lamont. Cornel West, I don't listen to him that much. Charlamagne is definitely one of these people. Are these folks, after Kamala lost in 2024, Big Sam, a bunch of them started claiming that they were independent and claiming that they're not on the side because they didn't want to look stupid with pie on their faces after supporting Kamala. See, if you're really on one side, you stand with it even when things aren't going good. A lot of them don't do that. Julie Lacombe, thanks for the follow. Leslie DeJane Welp, thanks for the follow. Lloyd Tock said, Trump turned the temperature up. Barack and Trump aren't opposites. Obama was a centrist. I never said they were opposites. TX Golf Guy, thanks for the follow. Randall Durham, Jessica, thanks for the follow. FaZe Jev said, why do we care so much about a random guy with social media following? Well, you tell me. Why are you in here leaving a comment? You asking? We care because he had impact. That's why we care, to answer your question in short. Hale said, the only way America will be great again is if we fight in middle ground and unite. Well, Hales, that ain't going to happen. So I get what you're saying, but that ain't happening. Eric Kerr, thanks for the follow. Let's see. Rachel said, people are afraid to go outside these days. I wouldn't go that far, Rachel. I don't think anybody's afraid to go outside. Karina said, even if you don't like him getting assassinated for free speech, him getting assassinated should disturb you. I'm disturbed by the fact that he got assassinated. We don't know why it happened. That's the thing. Sue Smith said, you do it too. Look at all your books on display. Okay, fair enough. I accept that. I do. Traditional outlook after this live is over. I can't see it right now. Kit, thanks for the follow. Nico, thanks for the follow. User and Emily, thanks for the share and the follow. Lloyd said, it's fine to be a black conservative. Do you think all racism is explicit? Well, first of all, racism is a way of thinking. It's not an action. If you look at the definition of the term, the first definition of the word in the Merriam-Webster dictionary is racism is a way of thinking, not a behavior. Now, they got like 5 definitions. That's what makes the conversation about racism very tricky because people are using different definitions, but using the same word. So I go off the first definition, which is a way of thinking. So most racism is inside somebody's head and they don't express it. So your question is a loaded question, but I just answered it anyway. Willis, thanks for the follow. Diana Roy, thanks for the follow. Shauna, good morning. Megs, thanks for the follow. Finn said, DJT failure to denounce extremist organizations, so support for the Proud Boys said a lot. And that's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Failure to denounce extremist organizations. No, he didn't fail to denounce them. He said that what did he say? The neo-Nazis and the such and such should be denounced right after that Charlottesville situation. He said that out loud. He said it right after he said there were fine people on both sides. Tate Wentz, thanks for the follow. Lisa Hill said, you're really good at bringing people back to the basic question. I feel like Charlie did that. Well, it's good way of, especially when you're dealing with a crowd of people, multiple people at the same time. You can't be chasing after red herrings. Red herrings when someone throws out a point that has nothing to do with the actual point, but they're trying to throw you off your course. You got to always bring them back to the center. And if you're talking to multiple people at the same time, you got to do that because people will try to do that to throw you off, especially if they disagree with you. Big Sam said, voting restrictions, I can go on with racist policy. Those aren't racist. Saying you got to have ID to vote is not a racist policy. So nice try.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Ruger's Life, thanks for the follow. Lisa, thanks for the follow. D, thanks for the follow. Hinkins, thanks for the follow. Lloyd Talk said, looking at the economy, do you think Trump supporters wanted his current outcomes? Well, I don't know. You got to ask one of Trump's supporters, first of all. Secondly, that's a red herring because it's not the topic.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Sam said, Democrats are the party that supports black people. Still.
Oh, I like your funny words, Magic Man. Strawberry cheesecake.
Now, Sam, that's one I can address directly, even though it's not the topic. Democrats do not, quote unquote, support black people. Are you black, Sam? Because if you're not, you're talking out of turn, first of all. Secondly, if you are black, no, the Democrats do not support black people. Democrats make a show of supporting black people and being the party of black people to keep black people voting for them. But support, no, that's ridiculous. Big Sam said his racist policies have measurable impacts that disproportionately hurt non-white communities. This is a straw man, and this one I'll explain.
Strawberry cheesecake.
So, Big Sam, you're using the Ibram X. Kendi definition of racism. The Ibram X. Kendi definition of racism is that anything that disproportionately hurts or shows a disproportionate, not as good outcome for a black person, it must be racist by definition. So this is what Ibram X. Kendi said in his book. For example, Ibram X. Kendi says, if you give a statewide test to a bunch of 8th graders and the white kids and the Asian kids do the best and the white kids do the second best and the black kids are all the way down at the bottom, then that must mean that the test itself is inherently racist. Why? Because the outcome of the test made black people do worse. So the test itself must be racist. I am not even being hyperbolic. That's literally in the guy's book. Any outcome that produces a disproportionately bad result for black people, it must be racist in and of itself, and therefore it must be dismantled. That is in Ibram X. Kendi's book. Big Sam, sounds like you read it and you studied at the feet of Ibram X. Kendi. I apologize for you studying at the feet of Ibram X. Kendi, but your framing is completely off here. This is nonsense.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
So a few more comments here, folks. We'll do a few more minutes, then we'll wrap this up. I got 23% battery, so maybe we'll go to the battery dies. A few more. Let's see, where are we? I just got to pick up where I can pick up here, folks. Sorry if I missed your comment. Stephanie Moore, thanks for the follow. Junior Bradley said, Trump got y'all believing tariffs are paid by other countries' cult behavior. Well, first of all, who's y'all?
Strawberry cheesecake.
And when a company gets tariffed, they can work it out with their supplier how the tariff gets cared for, whether they pass it on to the customers, whether they just pay it out of pocket, or they work with the supplier to split the cost, or the supplier decides to pay the cost. But just assuming that just because there's a tariff that the cost immediately goes straight to the consumer is not technically true. And if we want to talk about quote unquote facts, you are factually incorrect here, directionally.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Kuya, thanks for the lightning bolt. Mississippi Queen, thanks for the follow. Cameraman, thanks for the follow. Dolly Mack said they use black people. Well, there's many ways that the Democratic Party does that. And actually, Nana Cat said, aren't you tired of saying Sam said? Well, it's two different Sams in here leaving nonsense, and I'm just addressing a few of them. I'm not even reading everything that they say, believe it or not. I'm just picking up on a couple of them. And Dolly Mack said the Democratic Party uses black people. Yes, they do. Because look what Kamala Harris did in 2024. She had Quavo from the Migos at a political rally. What the hell does Quavo from the Migos, what is he going to tell you about who to vote for? A rapper who raps about being in the street and dealing narcotics and shooting, and his own partner from his own group got shot by a black person in an argument at a bowling alley. What the hell is this guy going to tell you about who to vote for when you're trying to pay your bills and take care of your kids? She had him at a rally, and a bunch of black people was in there clapping for this guy. Then she had Megan Thee Stallion at a rally. What the hell is Megan Thee Stallion, a rapper, rapping about degenerate nonsense and having a wet-ass pussy? What is she going to tell you about who to vote for when you're trying to move up in your career and make sure your kids can go to college? Then she had Beyonce at an event, and Beyonce, I like some of Beyonce's music, but Beyonce came up there and she was talking about reproductive freedom when Beyonce has 3 kids, and I doubt she's had a single abortion, but she's talking about reproductive freedom, which makes no sense. And they did the rally in Texas, which Kamala was not going to win, and she allegedly paid Beyonce $10 million, and Beyonce ain't do nothing but talk for 4 minutes. I want to hear Beyonce talk. I want to listen to Beyonce sing or watch Beyonce dance. She didn't even do that. All she did was talk. Beyonce's talking ain't worth $10 million. They are all using black people to try to get you to vote for them. LeBron, he campaigned for Hillary Clinton. Jay-Z campaigned for Barack Obama. Yes, they do use black people to get black people's attention. They had Cardi B interview Joe Biden in 2020. What the hell is Cardi B going to ask Joe Biden that matters for black people or Latin people or white people? Nothing and nothing. But they use these people because they have influence over black people, because black people are big consumers of hip hop. So they go find these hip hop people, degenerate idiots. I like their music, but I don't want to listen to them talk. I don't want to hear Cardi B talk. I don't want to hear Beyonce talk. I don't want to hear Megan Thee Stallion talk. I don't want to hear Quavo talk. I like music, maybe from some of the music from all of those people. I don't want to hear them talk about anything that has to do with everyday life, because according to their music, they don't live everyday life. According to their music, they're all the way up here above the everyday person. Why does the everyday person want to listen to what any of these people have to say about what an everyday person needs to do? This is what the Democratic Party does with and to black people. So to say that the Democratic Party supports black people is a ridiculous thing to say. And Dolly Mack, you saying that they use black people is 100% correct. Heather Joy, thanks for the follow. Thank you for the heart as well. Good morning to you. A few more comments here, folks, then we'll wrap this up. Let's see. Ann, thanks for the follow. Missy, thank you for the follow. Shauna, good morning. Susan, thank you for the follow. Carol, thank you for the rose. Karina says she's standing on business. Who said that? Dolly Mack said voting 90% one way for 50 years is insane. Well, you're right. I don't know what else to say about that. J.R. Bradley said Trump had rappers on stage that were in a RICO case. Yeah, they were a bunch of nobody rappers that I never heard of. And most of the people he had at his rallies were people who could actually tell you something of substance. Compared to the Democratic Party, J.R. Bradley, we really going to do this? You want to compare how many people of substance did Trump have? People who could actually tell you something because they actually do that as their regular work versus what the Democrats did. I think the Republicans won that battle. If we're gonna chalk it up, I think the Democrats won that battle. Yeah, Trump had some nobody rappers in New York on the stage. He had a comedian, Tony Hinchcliffe. He had Hulk Hogan. Who else did he have on stage that was entertainers? If we're going to compare which party enlists entertainers to tell voters who to vote for more often, I think everyone would agree that's the Democrats. I don't think that's even debatable. JR, you really want to have that debate? That's not even debatable. Nicole, thanks for the follow. Sam says, blocking or muting me ain't going to work. Well, actually, it would work, Sam, if I wanted to block or mute you, but you bring enough logical fallaciness to these comments that it makes it interesting. So I don't want to block or mute you. But you seem like you ran out of fallacies for today, so you've been kind of quiet lately. But that's okay. Miss Rianne Bennett, correct, thank you. Finn said Quavo equal Kid Rock. Again, I just said this. How many entertainers did the Democrats bring? How many does the Republicans bring? It's not even a competition. Ashley, thanks for the share. Chesapeake Dave, thank you for the follow. KS Priest, thank you for the rose. JR Bradley said, oh, the goalpost move. Where did I move the goalpost? Kelly, thank you for the share. Kate said, who would I like to be the next president? Well, it depends who's running. Tell me who the candidates are. When we get down to 2 candidates, then I'm open to listening. I'm open to actually answering the question. But we need 2 candidates first. And what I'll do, as I do every election cycle, I will do 2 videos. I'll do them live. One, I will tell you why the Democrat candidate is going to win. Then I'll do another one, tell you why the Republican is going to win. And I'll make convincing arguments on both sides in 2 different live streams, just as long as this one. Karina said he had everyday working people and victims of violence. Big Sam Kett said, Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan, LOL, are you serious? Well, I didn't choose Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan. Trump did. That's the whole point. Marsha Carter, thank you for the follow. Finn said L for Hulk Hogan because he was a known racist. I don't know if Hulk Hogan was a racist. He said the N-word, but I mean, we're going to have a whole conversation about the N-word, then go listen to my podcast. I've talked about it in detail. I don't want to get into that here today. Sam said, I'll just come back on a different account if you block or mute me, go up. Well, I'm not even going to block or mute you, as I just said. And then if you do come back on a different account, the time it would take you to make a new account is more than the time it would take for you to get blocked. So ultimately, you would lose. But I'm not even going to block you. I can just scroll past comments that I don't want to respond to. So you claiming that you're like a mosquito that people can't get out the room, all right, that's fine. That makes you feel good. Ryan Gaze, thanks for the follow. Happy Retta said Dre for president. Thank you. Nana said, I think Sam would hesitate to kill someone with a different opinion than him. I disagree, Nana. I disagree. Social media and real life are 2 completely different worlds. Terry M said, you make so much sense. Enjoyed listening to you. Thank you. Free Me Grandma said he was a racist. No, he didn't. He didn't say that. No, he did. Kuya said, Democrats use black women as the face, then turn their backs on them. Example, Jasmine Crockett. What do you mean turn their backs on them, though? What do you mean turn their backs? What do you do? Dally Mack said he's proving why they're deranged. Maybe. L. Johnson, thanks for the share. JR, we already talked about that earlier. You might have came in late talking about why didn't Trump denounce another person? Well, first of all, people die every day. So you're going to denounce everybody? Freemy said, Hulk Hogan said, I am racist to a certain extent. I didn't hear him say that, but Freemy, let's assume that he said that. All right, Freemy, let's assume he said that. All right, then I will say the same thing. I'm racist to a certain extent too. So now what does that mean? I'm racist to a certain extent too. If I'm walking down the street and I see a bunch of hooded black young guys standing on the corner somewhere, I'm on more alert than if I saw a bunch of white girls stand on that exact same corner. So does that make me racist? Does that make me racist, Freemy? If so, then I gladly accept the label of being racist. Racism is not a crime, first of all. People be calling out racism like you're solving some murder mystery. Being racist is legal. Racism is protected under the First Amendment. So if I see some young black dudes with hoodies on the corner, I'm not crossing the street. I'm going to walk right through them, but I'm on alert. More alert than if I saw a bunch of white girls stand on the exact same corner in the exact same number. So does that make me racist? If so, then I accept the label of being racist. And I will avoid, let me tell you something else that makes me racist. If I know that there's an event happening, there's going to be a bunch of N words there, not black people, but N words, I tend to not want to go to those events, not because I'm afraid anything's going to happen to me, but because I'm afraid that I'm going to have to respond to something that somebody else did or said, and I will respond. And then I'm going to end up having to deal with that with resources that I could be using for other things, such as paying lawyers. But I am more wary of staying away from N-words than if it was a bunch of white people. I would say that. I'm just thinking, making sure that that's true. Generally, that's true. I don't want to go any place with too many N-words. Not black people, N-words. I'm making a clear distinction between the two. Does that make me racist? If so, I'm racist. I'll take that. Free Me said that doesn't make it right. Well, who the hell is the judge of what's right? You?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
I'm the judge of what's right. For my behavior, I judge what's right for me. You judge what's right for you. NB said, I don't mind the racists at my job, just don't bother me. Oh, well. Big Sam said, definition of racism matters. You are speaking about prejudice and bigotry. Well, it was framed as racist, Big Sam. That's why I'm answering the question the way that way. JR said, what about white men in hoodies standing on the corner? I wouldn't be in as much alert if they were white. I'd be in more alert if they were black. Why? Because we can look at the stats on that one. JR Bradley, simple. Westside said, so you can't control yourself. Yeah, I can control myself. I said what I might do in response to something that somebody else does. Not what I actually would do, what I might do. I control myself. I'm telling you right now, this is premeditated. So doing something does not mean you can't control yourself. It's premeditated. I'm telling you that I might do it, meaning I'm already thinking about I might do this. But I also have the choice to not do it. But that's a red herring, what you just did there. Anyway, that's a straw man, actually.
Strawberry cheese.
And a red herring. Big Sam said racism is systemic and oppresses a group over another. Depending on what definition you're looking at, Big Sam, you can be right. But also, if you look at the first definition in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, then you're wrong. So it depends on this. This is how it becomes semantics. That's why the conversation about racism is so tricky these days, because two different people is using the same word, and they're both using the definition of the word, but they're using different definitions. And if they don't get clear on which definition is being used, then they can't even have a civil conversation. And at the same time, neither one of them wants to change which definition is being used, because it would undermine their entire argument. So that's why you can't really have a conversation about racism these days, because people use different definitions of the word to make their point. So this is where we end up. So ThirdDayBook.com, get this book for free, just cover the shipping. MirrorOfMotivation.com, get this book for free, just cover the shipping. SalesDisciplineBook.com, get this book for free, just cover the shipping. Go to the link in my profile. You want to get my daily motivation text message? I send it out every day for free. Text me at my number, 305-384-6894. Moderators, can you put that number in the comments, please? The number is 305-384-6894. That's how you can get my daily motivation text that goes out every single day for free. Again, it's 305-384-6894. That's how you get my daily motivation text every single day. I send it out for free to everybody in my texting community. It's free to get in the texting community. Just text me at that number. James Lanier, thanks for the share. Kuya said, how many black women did Biden pardon to protect when he left office? I don't know. I didn't hear of any. Who did he protect? He protected Fauci and a couple people in his family. I don't remember everybody else. User said, man, I love your honesty and intelligence. Thank you. It's Key Love. Thank you. Barb said, you make a lot of sense and are very logical. It's refreshing. Thank you. Dally Mack says, insane to think a system oppresses only one demographic of people. Well, a lot of people think that because the argument has been made, very well put together arguments, ultimately faulty arguments, but they're very well put together, very well worded. Even Max Kennedy's arguments are very well organized, but they don't make sense if you think about them rationally. Problem is, most people are not rational thinkers. Katie said, I ordered the books. I can't wait till they arrive. Great. I can't wait till you get them. I'm looking forward to it. Army on Fire, thanks for the follow. Marky Man, good to see you. Sam said, you know, a book is going to teach you much when you can get it for free. Well, Sam, you've been on here for 2 hours for free. So what are you teaching? And at the same time, these books, you can go buy them on Amazon. So if you buy them on Amazon, does it mean it would teach you something? If I charge you $100, would it teach you something? It's the same book. So nice try, but
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Jason Worthington, thank you. Says, so nice to hear from someone who makes sense. Dowling Matt said, appreciate you, Joey. Keep speaking truth and logic. JT Vance said, first time listening, I will be back. Thank you. Scott said, I'm glad I found your page. I will listen often. Thank you. Shauna McD, thank you for the like. Marshall Carter said, thanks for being you. Thanks for giving me your advice and insight. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're usually done by 10. Went a little bit long today because this is a special occasion. That number for the text, 305-384-6894. If you go to the link in my profile, everybody, those of you on TikTok, go to my profile. Actually, not the link. Just go to my profile on TikTok. The number's right there. On my profile on TikTok, you see it right here. 305-384-6894. It's right there in my profile. Just text me at that number. And if you go to the link in my profile, which is workonyourgame.live, that's where you can get all those books that I just mentioned. Workonyourgame.live. Oh, so they restricted one of my links. So you go to workonyourgame.live. Well, you should be able to go there, but for whatever reason, TikTok took that link away. I don't know why they took that link away. It doesn't make any sense. I gotta go to workonyourgame.live. That link does have my books in it, but for whatever reason, they restricted my link. I gotta reach out to TikTok support and make sure that they fix that. But 305-384-6894 is the number. 305-384-6894. Yes, it's on my YouTube. It's on all my other profiles. For whatever reason, that link in my TikTok profile can't be clicked on, but the number is in there. You just go to the number and text me at that number, and then ask me, Dre, can you give me the links to the books? I'll just text you back the links to the books. All right, everybody. Appreciate everybody's time and attention here today. We'll be back tomorrow. Topic to be determined. Thanks to all the new people. Thanks to the old people. Thanks for the detractors. Thanks for the supporters. And thanks for the new followers. If you're not following me, make sure you follow me. I will see everybody tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great day. We are out of here. Work on your game. Thanks, YouTube. I see you all over there. Good thing we got the sound working.